Have you ever watched something that completely rewired your brain chemistry?
A procedural network drama might not be your usual pick, but it's ours.
This is The Buddie System, a 911 deep dive podcast hosted by three friends who have DM'd each other enough character dissertations to earn a PhD in media literacy. I'm Han, coming to you straight from the characters' heads.
I'm Sil, bringing you to the observation deck.
And I'm Rachel, connecting the dots with my red string. With our powers combined,
No stone is left unturned.
and no Buddie is left behind.
We are gathered to remember Shannon Diaz with a eulogy written by Taylor Allison Swift.
Say it once again with feeling.
How the death rattled breathing.
Silence as the soul was leaving.
The deflation of our dreaming.
Leaving me bereft and reeling.
My beloved ghost in me.
Sitting in a tree.
DYING. Welcome to Dispatch. What's on call this week?
Today we're discussing...
I'm sorry. I couldn't hold it in.
Today we're discussing Season 2, Episode 17, Careful What You Wish For. Written by Matthew
Hodgson.
Directed by Bradley Bucher.
The Buke is back.
Originally aired Monday, May 6, 2019.
I think that eulogy was the longest we've ever been serious on this show. It lasted 2 seconds.
It did.
Wow.
Proud of us.
So we have a few calls of the week, to put it lightly. The first is falling head over heels, where in the midst of a lottery frenzy, a previous lottery winner throws away his cash winnings like confetti as he then throws himself over a building, landing feet first into a car's windshield. Our next call is Augustus Gloop, Eat Your Heart Out, where a teacher and reformed sugar addict chaperoning a school field trip to a chocolate factory falls into a vat of molten chocolate in an attempt to get another free sample gone wrong. The next one is I Love You, I'm Sorry. At dispatch, Maddie answers a call from a woman who is distraught and concerned that her brother may have harmed himself and hangs up when she arrives back home, leaving Maddie in the lurch of wondering whether she is actually providing the most help she can. Moving on to front row for the fireworks show. Believing it to be an anniversary present from her husband, a lawyer picks up a package left on her porch just before it explodes. And our last one, which is the fifth call, and we usually only have 4, so this is a little extra bonus.
A bonus.
Bonus emergency. Love is embarrassing.
Love's fucking embarrassing, okay?
Not proud of it.
So the 118 is called to an accident where a driver has hit pedestrians at a crosswalk, and Shannon, being one of the victims, passes away from her injuries with Eddie by her side.
But is he really?
Whoa.
Sorry.
Whoa.
Whoa. Okay.
So we're finally here. I feel like we've been leading up to this episode in particular for a very long time, at least since like episode 4.
Been a long time coming.
Oh God. And I mean, it's not even the finale yet, but it's kind of like part 1 of the finale because it ties together a lot of themes that we've seen throughout the season. And then next episode is like the actual like culmination of everything and setting up the next season. So this kind of ties a lot of stuff together. So yeah, I think we really have been leading up to this for a while, especially with Shannon. And I know we've been talking about it since at least 204 Stuck. That's when we were like, oh, they were planning this the whole time.
They knew the whole... I can't keep doing that the whole time.
Nope, we don't
Continue.
have time for that. Knowing what we know now, of all of the things that we know now, and really paying close attention to Eddie and Shannon's storyline throughout this season, what are your guys' takeaways?
Yikes. That's all I have. Just big yikes.
Major yikes.
I mean, it's just amazing how long she's been haunting the fucking narrative. Like
they designed it that way.
All the way to season 7. I'm sorry, did you say shut up?
No.
Not to me. I mean, like, who said shut up? One of you did. Or no?
Nope.
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you were making like a reference to like the whole be silent.
Not yet.
Okay. Well, yeah, you think Shannon was going to be silent anyway, but she's not. She's haunting the narrative.
Oh my God.
Sorry, someone please, because I can't be serious about this.
This is part of our shtick. It's a serious episode, so we gotta bring the levity.
But serious, we are zany face. So
Yeah.
sorry.
That's my emoji. That's my
That is
assigned
your
one.
emoji.
Yeah, we gotta keep the energy up somehow because like a lot of these are big bummers. So
Major bummer.
But yeah, I mean, generally, those are my thoughts. Just yikes.
Bummer.
Big yikes.
Yeah.
Ham.
Okay, so this is a fantastic episode. It's an evil episode.
So evil.
It's the culmination of so much paralleling and foreshadowing, and like it's just crazy work that they were planning this like so meticulously. Yeah, I don't know. It's
really
crazy.
were.
It is a good ensemble episode, even though it's like Eddie's episode. It's like his biggest episode to date, like in the show, like in season 2. We're in a rewatch where we are in season 2.
He's really taking the A plot. I mean,
Yes,
he did in some of the other ones where I think Haunted was a big one, but
this is like the most happening. This is like a huge like range of emotions that he has to show. Ryan Guzman. And he did it very well.
He does it very well. Like there's a lot of stoicism that's like just like so deeply felt.
Yeah.
His performance, I think, really got the point across.
But yeah, good episode. Sad. Not as depressing as Bobby Begins Again. So I guess like maybe they like threw us the softball after that. They were like trying to prepare us for this.
I don't know. What other?
I think Bobby Begins Again is way sadder than this.
I think they're pretty equal, but I'm maybe a little more like Shannon empathetic than.
It's not even the Shannon empathetic. It's the dead kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always going to take the cake. Oof.
But yeah,
but just
anyway.
like 1, 2, 3 punch with Bobby Begins Again. Careful what you wish for. And This Life We Chose or Choose.
Just some good lighthearted fun, you know?
Yep. What a way to finish off sophomore season. So with that, shall we?
Yes.
Shall we dive into
into the jaws?
Oh, I was going to say dive into our vat of molten chocolate.
Oh my God.
Pulls you down.
And you know what that's like? A well.
Oh my God.
I'm about to put you on timeout already.
It's been like 5 minutes. Okay. Anyway.
You can't give me vat of molten chocolate drags you down and not have me do a well reference. Come on.
Fine. Dirt,
I gotta give the people what
brown.
they want.
Got it. Okay.
And by people, I mean me.
Yes.
We're gonna need the jaws of life over here.
So there are no press articles from this week in the history. There's a lot for the finale.
I couldn't find any, so I think the majority of it is because this was the penultimate episode. Because this was the penultimate episode, I think they were leaning on the majority of the press to come in the week after. So we'll cover more of that next time. So in lieu of that, we have some needle drop.
Yeah, we have some needle drops. There's 3. The first 2 are just funny haha ones. So the very beginning of the episode, we have For the Love of Money by the OJs, which is, the money.
Which they do use again in season 8.
Then we have I Want Candy by Bow Wow Wow. I would have preferred the Aaron Carter version, but this was still very appropriate.
I always just like mentally replace it with the Aaron Carter version because like.
So what we really need to talk about is this song, this no-name song that you will not be able to find anywhere except on audiosparks.com. because it's a song that was like written for like TV and film for them to like, you know,
like commercial use.
Yes, commercial use. And it's called We Could've, featuring Rachel Canute by DC Soul Plus Mind. That's all one word, Soul Plus Mind. Okay. I'm going to have to read the entire lyrics. This is the song that's playing while Eddie and Shannon are at dinner. Okay, so we're just going to go through, and I'm not going to elaborate because I don't need to. It's like it was written for them. Yeah. I find you in my head sometimes, keep everything you said on rewind. You needed me to tell the truth, and I needed you to see right through me.
Ugh.
I find it hard to keep my cool, start feeling like you're stupid fool. I needed you to let me down, and you needed me to keep on coming around. We could have done better. We could have tried harder. We could have been stronger. We could have gone further. We could have shined brighter. We could have been so much more. And then it repeats and adds, but you walked right out the door.
Oh, man.
Damn.
I find you in my bed at night. Keep everything you said on my timeline. There's something in the way I lose till nothing's really left of me or you.
Oh, my gosh.
I find it hard to rearrange, to get back on my feet and start again. You never really leave my side. I find you everywhere I try to hide.
Literally haunting the narrative.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God.
Then we could have been stronger. We could have gone further. We could have shined brighter. We could have been so much more. Again, but you walked right out the door. Repeats the I find you in my head sometimes. I needed you to see right through me. And then the ending is I find you in my head sometimes. I find you in my head. Keep everything you said on rewind. Keep everything you said. You needed me to be a friend. And I needed you to be there till the end.
This is one of the craziest things they could have ever done.
What the fuck?
Tell me this isn't written specifically from Eddie's point of view. Like with him in mind. This is almost too uncannily like relevant.
Yeah. Because she still hasn't left the narrative.
Mm-hmm. And the whole struggle of like what they could have been and what they needed each other to be. Like they needed each other to be the partner and to have each other's backs. And it just like, it never happened. And kind of both of them walked right out the door, but Shannon did.
She needed him to tell the truth.
Ugh.
He needed her to see right through him.
Like more Stevie Norman, like, because Eddie really does just need someone to see him too.
Yeah.
Also, because he is also here, but he doesn't. He kind of almost doesn't let himself be seen sometimes.
No,
because he's.
I mean,
putting
he doesn't
on such
even
a
fully
facade.
see himself.
No.
So
this song is wild.
This song is wild, and the song is played loud enough that you can like some of the lyrics. There are pauses that it ends up in the transcript, so it's like the lyrics are on the screen, and it's like it's we could have done better. We could have. It's that part. We could have tried harder. We could have been stronger. That part when she's like talking about the letter, I think.
So I guess that makes me wonder why they chose. For a show that has such like iconic needle drops, like very, and we talked about this at the very, like in season 1, they have very recognizable songs that they utilize
they have money.
because they have the budget
for it.
So that leads me to believe that this was a very intentional choice.
Yeah,
because they could have this. I mean, there are songs with this kind of theme all around, but it's just so like pinpointed. That it makes me really curious, like how they found that, or if it was written specifically for this, or you know, if it's been used in any other.
So it was made in 2014, shows. So it wasn't made specifically for this.
It just eerily similar.
Yep,
that is really interesting because it plays such a featured part in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we've delivered you the craziest soundtrack song thus far, I think we're going to do something I don't think we have done before. And this is to honor Shannon because like what the fuck?
They're so mean to her in this episode.
I mean, this whole since she showed up, we've been in every episode being like, here's foreshadowing, here's parallels, all of these things, right? In every single episode that sometimes she's not even in.
Yeah.
This episode has so many, it's egregious. So we made a list of narrative sins.
Committed against Shannon Diaz. Poor girl. So at the very beginning of the episode, yes, even there, where with the lottery frenzy that's happening and all the money is falling down like confetti, like it's New Year's or whatever. And there's people are all in the streets trying to like grab the money. And there's a car that almost runs into people in the streets. And specifically, I think it's a wood panel PT Cruiser. Is it also a wood panel PT Cruiser?
I don't know. I put wood panel PT Cruiser because I was like, that's showing the year of the show.
I mean,
I used to see them everywhere. Anyway,
well, they're not made anymore.
No.
So, anyways,
That's a what?
So,
sorry, actually, do not answer that question. I'm just gonna Google.
You'll know once you see it.
Yeah,
they're hideous.
It's like Punch Buggy PT Cruiser.
Yeah.
So it's like now, Anyways, so right off the top of the episode, we see a car almost run into pedestrians in the street.
Then we have the man who had won the lottery a year ago, who jumped off the roof. Right. Mm-hmm. He landed on the car.
So he hit the car instead of the car hitting him. But
yep. And Eddie and Hen are the people who are working on him. And Eddie says, spine's probably okay.
Crazy work. Right there.
What? And then they're putting him in. Actually, yeah, Eddie's the one like pushing him like on the way to the ambulance and into the ambulance. And on the way there,
he asks if there's anyone that they can
that they
notify
should call
next
for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And the guy is like, my wife left me. My kids hate me. My only friend is suing me.
I can't believe that.
Wild.
What?
Not only is that it's 3 different beats, right? It's
my wife left me. That's this episode.
That's this episode. My kids hate me, which is way down the line.
Season 7. End of season 7 and currently.
And my only friend is suing me.
Season 3.
Setting up for season 3. I think they had some idea of where they were going.
They had to have.
Because I think we talked about it in one of the last couple episodes and we were like, well, that sets up stuff for it was like last episode with Bobby Begins. That's crazy. Like all 3 beats, like one, like 3 is a pattern, right?
Yeah, that's insane. Well, I'm going to keep saying insane work in this episode, but continue.
Okay, so on the beach, guess I'm just waiting for a sign to know which way to step.
When they're
Eddie on the beach with Shannon, he's saying it to Shannon, and I was like, which way to step? Probably not where the car was.
Off the crosswalk. and like looking for a sign, like literally like looking at the stop sign, the go sign, to cross to cross the street, to step forward and just like that kind of thing.
Not that the pedestrians were in the wrong, but
no,
it still was like, okay.
Yeah.
Then we have Maddie's call with, oh my God, what is the sister's name?
Nicole,
who is worried about her brother who has attempted suicide several times and left her a note, a goodbye letter that just says, I love you, I'm sorry. Which is maybe something that you'll hear at the end of the episode out of Shannon's mouth.
Interestingly enough.
And notes, leaving a note.
Wow.
And maybe we'll hear a note in the monologue at the end. And this one is also egregious because it's multiple. But at the call where the lawyer and her husband were celebrating their anniversary and porch go boom. Yeah. Eddie is putting the gurney into the ambulance. She has one shoe missing. like you'll see the shot and like one of her shoes is just blown off her foot. When we see Shannon on the gurney being loaded into the ambulance, she also has one shoe missing. And I thought, and that has to be intentional.
Well, yeah.
I don't know how that can be accidental. But also, so the husband climbs into the ambulance and it goes like the sound is all like weird and slow-mo and distorted. He's like, I love you, as he's in the ambulance with his wife who is suffering. And then the ambulance closes and we have the shot of the door closing, and in the reflection is who but Eddie's stoic face, just like looking on to the scene of this husband and wife who are, you know, very much married and celebrating an anniversary. And it's just like,
was this after Shannon asked for a divorce? Or before?
It's before.
Oh, okay.
Because then they have the FaceTime call, and the FaceTime call is before the dinner.
Right.
So he's thinking about his marriage with Shannon. And not only that, so the door closes and we see him in the reflection of that, literally reflecting on his own relationship and circumstances. And then before we visually cut, I think it's a J cut, right? Before we visually cut to the next shot, we hear Shannon's laughter while we're still focused on Eddie in the reflection of the ambulance. So that's crazy to me. Almost like it's totally foreshadowing.
Well, and then they like also during that FaceTime call, they say, I love you to each other, which is also just
the first time you ever hear them say it.
Yeah. Without connected to Christopher.
That's egregious.
Right.
Okay, so Gloria says, the people that couldn't be saved, I always thought there was nothing I could do for them, but there was. I could have listened. Just been there for them at the end so they didn't have to be alone. And which then cuts to a car just drove through a crowd of people at a crosswalk, which leads to. But I think this is interesting because what does Eddie say to Shannon? Shannon at the end there? To be silent? Jesus.
Yeah. So
crimes committed right there. I'm sorry. I love you, Eddie, but criminal. That's criminal work right there. Jail.
Yeah.
Imagine you're dying and a man tells you to shut up. I would summon... I don't care if my spine's broken. I'm punching him.
Yeah.
I would find, like, right, you'd find the adrenaline. You get reanimated. That's the only way. You're like... What the fuck did you just say? Punch. Dead.
Summoning the spirit of the audacity. Just to, like...
Yeah.
But yeah, like really, you know, being for them in the end, so they didn't have to be alone, and Eddie is there for Shannon, but where Maddie listens and is there for them in comfort, Eddie tells her to shut up.
Criminals there.
And we might come up with some more while we're chatting, but those were the ones that we like noticed kind of throughout, like sprinkled throughout the entire episode. It's just like, oh, and this is like that, and this is like that, and it's just like
insane.
Who wrote
in
this
the
one
membrane.
again? Who wrote this
Someone
one?
who's insane in the membrane.
Matthew Hodgson. Mad respect, but also like
crazy work.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
Wait, what else did he write? Let me
I think he's written some bangers.
He has, and I know this. 106 Heartbreaker, the Valentine's Day episode. And then it was 208, which was Buck actually. Oh. He loves parallels.
Oh yeah.
Narrative parallels. And then so it was Heartbreaker and Buck actually, and here he comes out swinging with another banger of narrative parallels.
What?
Oh, I'm gonna have to think about that for slow burn. ambulance parallels.
Oh, yeah. And having the significant other die, and then the one who's living also wants to.
Someone please jog my memory. What are you guys talking about?
Buck Actually is the you find it, you make it.
Oh,
and the same guy who wrote that episode wrote this one. So now I'm thinking of like Buddie, the Buddie of that all, of the parallels, because that's like the ambulance is there sitting in the back of the ambulance having that you find it, you make it chat.
Oh shoot.
Anyway,
Okay.
Pin in that.
We will get back to that because
I
also
time right now to unpack all that. We'll unpack that later. Right now, we're going to flash over. Okay, so for themes, I know you never would have guessed it, but the first one is be careful what you wish for.
What?
No way.
No.
Eddie specifically was looking for a sign to figure out what to do with his relationship that he didn't know if he wanted or not, which should have been a sign in itself. But instead, he read the signs wrong, and the universe sent a pretty clear sign, I think, on its opinion on whether he should be in that relationship or not. Then we have Just Breathe, which call was that from?
Was it the one with Maddie? It was something with Maddie, right?
Was it Maddie when she's talking? Yeah.
Yes.
Maddie's taking a call and she says to just breathe. And I was like, oh, that is a theme. That is a theme for like
also the guy in the chocolate, I think.
Yeah, it's like a literal like you need to breathe to like live, survive, and like, hey, you need to like take some time or just take some space and like just like it's gonna be okay, figure it out. Waiting for a sign. Eddie in this episode is the definition of I've connected the dots.
You didn't connect.
And the universe was like, you didn't connect shit.
The universe is like, I'm trying to connect the dots for you, and you're seeing the forest. You're not seeing the forest for the trees.
Yeah, like, Maddie seems to be like looking for a sign for like what to do about her career.
Kind of her purpose. Like, purpose and meaning in her career and in her life now that she doesn't have to run anymore, so she can settle. She can feel more settled. I was trying to think if like Bobby fit into that too, but I don't know if I could make that work. I mean, just because his kind of purpose and what he's seen as his like purpose in life has been rooted, that he's kind of in a limbo a little bit.
It all feels unfinished. That Maddie says that as well. And I was like, oh, that is another. She's just spitting out the themes in her dialogue.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, unfinished is like everyone in this episode.
No, truly.
But no one more so than Shannon.
And Eddie, technically, because he didn't get his little closure.
Well, yeah. I think we'll find when we're talking about the character arcs that Maddie and Eddie are very paralleled in a lot of this. Also shocking news. But this just in.
More brand new information.
If you haven't paid attention so far. And then being stuck in the same patterns. So again, because this is kind of a culmination of so much of the season that it has to kind of, thesis statement of what has been set up. So I found a lot of similarities and themes with specifically episodes Stuck, Haunted. Yeah, Stuck and Haunted. So literally being stuck, not so much physically in all of these cases, but like being stuck in the same patterns or falling back into old habits. So we have like the teacher who was falling back into his old habits of like eating a lot of chocolate, eating a lot of sugar, and Eddie falling back into those old patterns or habits of, what he thinks his life and relationship should look like. Maddie falling back into those old habits of kind of running away a little bit but this time from her job. I can't think of any more at the moment. So just like being stuck, coming around again. There's also some like expectation versus reality, which I think is kind of similar to like the careful what you wish for, where it's like, it's not gonna come to pass in the way that you would think it would. Like the lottery winner being like, I thought it would fix my life and it just gave me more problems. So, a lot of these things. Oh, I remember. Sorry. I remember for being stuck in patterns and habits, the lawyer and her husband, because it was their anniversary. And he's like, I reserved our usual table. And she's like, oh, great. Meaning like it was the same old kind of like running the same paths again. I'll just run through a couple of these really quickly because they're things that I thought would be kind of from the previous episodes that I mentioned that we see kind of touched on, but not in as great detail. So making difficult choices, life choices, like being stuck between options and like questioning what path to take. Stuff about purpose and meaning in your life, independence, support systems. That's all from Stuck 204. And from 207 is notifying next of kin, because we see a lot of with these emergencies, like getting the family or asking who they can contact with any of these. Also, hope was a really big theme in 207 Haunted, which Maddie talked about then, specifically with Buck in that conversation when they were talking about him and Abby. And we see that revisited with Hope, specifically with Maddie again. And of course, closure or lack thereof, and grieving or being haunted. So that is kind of self-fulfilled prophecy here, with Shannon turning into Eddie's personal ghost, just like Abby was Buck's personal ghost, and how Eddie will be grieving or not going forward. So it all comes full circle.
It sure does. Okay, so out of the themes into the frying pan. Who's cooking? Gonna start off with Maddie today. So Maddie is kind of still trying to find her like new normal after everything that happened with Doug. And we see her for the first time kind of feel unsure about her job, because it seems to be like pretty fulfilling like up until now for her.
Yeah, it's a bit of a left turn for her, because she's gotten, dispatcher of the month and whatever like that. So she's obviously like very capable and competent at her job, but it's like whether she feels that like fulfillment, which I feel like it almost rehashed what we saw in Awful People 205, which I forgot to mention in themes, which I guess was also like the culmination of that as well. So here she is questioning again. She's there for the beginning and the middle, but not the end.
Yeah. It's this call with Nicole, who's worried about her brother Sam, that I think really spurs this on, or at least how we see it. It really starts this, where the sister got a suicide note from her brother, who has already attempted several times before. And she's on her way to try and go find him and stop him. And she shows up, like she gets to her house and then hangs up on Maddie. And it's like she gets so invested in these things.
Yeah.
And
she's so empathetic. And this is probably like felt more personal because of like little brother, and what we know about her now having a dead one. So I didn't
felt
even
like,
think about that.
Yeah.
No.
I felt like this kind of shook her up a little bit.
Yeah. Honestly, this is a total, sorry, tangent aside, but this call did kind of remind me a little bit of when Abby was kind of feeling the same things, where she was like, I think it was it like the pilot or one of the first two episodes where it was like, and they just hang up and she doesn't really know. So it's kind of like seeing that again. But also it made me think about, maybe it's because it was the sister concerned about the brother, it kind of made me think a little bit about 102 Let Go, where Buck followed up with the sister who lost her brother from the roller coaster, and kind of how that was a little, I don't know. I feel like there's some
it shook up his
similarities,
like confidence in himself.
Yeah, his confidence and something about how, well, maybe they weren't able to help. I think his name was Devin in that second episode, but Maddie was able to help. We find out at the end that Maddie was able to help Nicole's brother, and I forget his name. So I don't know. I thought that was something kind of similar. It just maybe
it is.
Reminded me of that. But
so, she doesn't find out what happens. She has a talk with Josh, and she's like, how do you know if you've made a difference? And is talking about how, like, when she was a nurse, she was there from like the beginning to the end to see what happened with the patient. So she could really feel like she was helping, making a difference. And she says, Doug is gone. I'm free now. And Josh asks her, what do you want to do? And she says, I wish I knew. Know. And that just kind of, I don't know. Anytime someone's like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with my life, reminds me of Eddie. So, and it's Maddie and Eddie parallels.
Well, I mean, it's pretty blatant, because Shannon also asked him, and he's like, I don't know.
Oh, in this episode specifically, yeah. And then what does he want from Kim? I don't know.
Yeah.
Then she has a talk with Sue about the talk with Josh, where she's having this debate where she's like, I don't know if I want to be the person who sends help. I want to be the person who gives it, because she really, I think she's thinking about how she took this job initially because she was scared to be out in the open. And I think that is kind of what's making her question it. And the fact that she can't go back in a list of like, these are all of the patients that I saw from beginning to end and knew that I helped them. It's completely different with her job. So she's kind of having a like crisis of faith here, faith in herself, or like,
or her purpose. Like
her purpose. Yeah.
Is this the way that she is providing the most assistance, the most help? Because she knows that she is helping people, but she doesn't know if this is where she's being better served as that middle person, as opposed to seeing people like face to face sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I kind of love what Josh says. And it's also a little concerning, because he's like, in my mind, I've never lost a call. And they talk about hope again, like, and you never have to know. So you can always have hope that like it worked out well. I'm not sure how great that is in the long run, but if that's what like helps him and keeps him like steady and able to do that, like, what's the harm in that?
Yeah. I feel like I talked about this, like, I think in the pilot, which was like being desensitized to your role, your job, especially in these like high stress, serving the public. Like you don't know what you're going to, each call is different. You don't know what you're going to end up dealing with. You don't know if you're going to lose someone. And you kind of have to just keep moving forward onto the next call, like recalibrate, and you have to recalibrate fast. So like while it does take a toll, like they have to learn their own like coping techniques. And Maddie, I guess I'm sure she has them, but like she's also the kind of person who really wants to know that she did everything that she could and everything was okay in the end, even though like, if you do lose someone on those calls, it's kind of like, she just needs to, I guess, try to learn to cope with that.
Like her, like the best coping mechanism for her.
Yeah. Her own version of gaslighting herself,
but in a healthy way.
She does talk about how like when she was doing nursing, like there was a beginning, middle, and end, right? So like she, and I know this is mostly for those dead end calls. She gets the call, that's the beginning. What's happening during that call, that's her middle. But then when they hang up, that's like, okay, what happens there? Did I help them? Was I able to help them? So that was
Maybe she should have just done another ride along with Athena.
Oh yeah,
maybe.
Give me more Maddie and Athena, to be honest.
Yes, because that, I mean, that's kind of why she went for that in the first place, because she was also like, I mean, she was in a different place now that Doug is gone and she doesn't have to worry about him, but like it's essentially the same thing, but she has the opportunity now to really like reassess if this is what's actually what's best for her as well.
She says to Sue, I spent years not having a voice, and now that I do, it just feels like what I'm saying doesn't matter. So that's where she's at and why she's evaluating it, because it really is. I think it comes down to the Doug of it all, where it's like, I don't want to just be doing this job because like the reason why she started it, I think is tainting it a little bit for her, and she can't kind of see clearly
because she doesn't feel like she has to hide anymore.
And she's like, am I stifling my voice and my effectiveness by staying here?
It's not so much that she's running away from something that she knew and felt comfortable with, but I think there is an element there of her sometimes maybe feeling like she's too comfortable, and that making her nervous a little bit. So it might in a way activate her fight or flight again, because we know she's the bolter, right? So I kind of wonder if this is like her way of exploring that avenue a little bit without completely cutting ties yet. But I think it's like her itch to run because things are almost too good. Yeah. Right? Like she's too settled, and it's like, okay, where's the other shoe that's going to drop?
So then Josh and Sue plan what I have dubbed the "Your Voice Saved Me" flash mob.
I love that.
Which felt very Glee. I think I decided while we were sitting here talking about Josh a little bit, and I was thinking about him in general, but especially like what he said about everyone survived in my thing, and then like this flash mob, and he has this combination of like plucky optimism with the complete opposite, like sardonic, like attitude that he just reminds me of Kurt Hummel from Glee.
It's a dry delivery.
Yeah.
Plucky attitude with a dry delivery.
But just personality wise, I was like, feels like grown up Kurt Hummel.
That's sweet.
But anyway, so they did this thing which seems sweet, but also maybe illegal.
It is another egregious, like going beyond the glass doors.
Yeah.
But like the glass doors came and slammed into you.
Yeah.
Like she didn't search that out. They were like, oh no, let's do this.
And I was like, why couldn't they have just like pulled all of these calls and files and like pulled her into a conference room and been like, we followed up and this person blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, we're going to rent out a cafe. And
it's because of the personal connection aspect of it, because like she hadn't seen these people's faces before. She'd only heard their voices, and to put a face to the voice, to make them real people, to show that her actions had like tangible effects on these real people with real lives that are now better off for her intervention.
Yeah.
So like I get it, but I don't think it's
legal. There's no way it's legal. I know. I don't think it was legal for, we discussed this in season 1. I don't think it was legal for Abby to get Buck's phone number.
But it was for a good cause, and they were all very nice and gracious, and
Maddie's very moved. She's very moved by every single one of them.
It is what she needed to hear.
Yes, but the one that gets her the most, which kills me, is Gloria. Oh, she's back.
And I love the little like throwaway line. It's like, but I thought you were like in jail.
I thought you were incarcerated.
It's like, no, I took a plea deal. Like,
yeah.
Okay. But yeah, this having Gloria.
And Norman and
oh my God. Wait, did you say when we were watching this last night about Norman and
What's
Lola?
What's Norman's wife's name?
Lola.
So I said Norman and Lola have a much richer backstory and character development than Tommy could ever dream of. We know so much about Norman and Lola.
We really do.
We know a little bit too much of their relationship as opposed to.
I don't want to know. I don't want to be knowing all that.
Know that.
I really don't.
But they have more relationship development than.
Oh, yeah, that too. Yeah.
I mean, just goes to show. If you would like to hear more of that, please check out our plot device episode.
Mhm. Or if you want to hear more about, I think we talk about them in the season 7 wrap.
Yeah,
I think so.
So Gloria says that she was wrong.
Hallelujah. The angels are singing.
She says, I was wrong about the dead end calls, the people that couldn't be saved. I always thought there was nothing I could do for them, but there was. I could have listened, just been there for them at the end, so they didn't have to be alone. Astonishing revelation that maybe you could have had before you cost people their lives, but whatever.
I mean, I was just going to say, this is the answer that we were looking for in Awful People and some of the episodes after, where it's like, are people capable of change?
Sure.
This is saying that some maybe.
Some maybe. Maddie says, but is that enough? I mean, I'm there for them in the beginning. I'm there for them in the middle, but it still doesn't seem like it's enough to make a difference. And Gloria responds, it's not. Until it's your emergency. And then you realize that the middle is the scariest part because you don't just need help, you need hope. And then it's when all the people start standing up. And that's what your voice is, Maddie. It's hope.
I love how connected Maddie has been to the theme of hope throughout this season, because she is really the one that has like that big hope conversation with Buck in, what did we say it was, Haunted?
So we're going to hop into our scene dissection because it kind of is covering a lot of people. We're going to talk about our little therapy with Bobby montage.
Hey! Where's the fire?
every time I see Where's the Fire, I'm like, something didn't start the fire. And then I was gonna say Bobby didn't start the fire. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Legally, he didn't.
Legally, he didn't start the fire, okay?
He has been cleared in a legal of all legal obligation.
Oh,
he just does not clear himself
No.
That's true.
of responsibility.
So yeah, this montage gets mirrored in season 8, which we love.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I love that they did this.
So Bobby's trying to plan his and Athena's wedding. So he's got important work to do, but instead everyone in his life, I think minus Athena, Michael, and May, come and visit him.
Because they don't have to. They don't have any problems going on right now.
But they're good.
But Bobby is the dad and the therapist all rolled in one, and the captain, and just like, he's who everybody looks for advice, counsel, and leadership. And, you know, when he's not there, they go to him.
Yep, they still go to him. That's the common thread between why we needed another montage like this in season 8, because he wasn't captain again.
I also love the premise because it does start with Bobby and Athena both going through like a major life change. So like here, I think Bobby and Athena are planning their wedding, and then in season 8, planning to build a house.
Yeah.
And some of the characters and their problems that what they're going through, like actually kind of mirrors their issues in season 8. Like for example, Eddie, family shit. So like Eddie is trying to figure out like what to do with the. Well, we'll get into it, but you know, I just thought that was funny.
It really does mirror that.
So Buck is the first person there because, of course, that is his son. And he kind of like comes storming in like he belongs there, but like also kind of like, is it okay that I'm here? Like really anxious, unsure of himself. Like, am I? And he says, am I bothering you? You would tell me if I'm bothering you, right? Oh, sweet poor little baby.
I mean, it is so funny because he really does just like the door opens like a crack and he just barges his way in. And then he's like, wait.
So it's like he knows that he belongs there, but he also has that like deep-rooted, like, anxiousness of, like, not feeling like he belongs. So Buck is in his, what I like to call, he's trying to fix things. He's in fixer mode, which I want to say is, like, his neutral setting.
I think you're right.
His
Sees
neutral
problem,
setting
wants to fix
sees
it.
problem, needs to fix problem immediately.
Yeah.
So he storms in after he's made sure that he's allowed to be there, is like, okay, so I could fix it by doing this. I could fix it by doing this. What about this? No, then you would also get suspended. Okay, but what about this? There's got to be something we can do.
He's always
like
trying to come up with the solution, which is like Syl was saying, really mirrors his part of the scene of the montage in season 8 was, where it was like, no, you have to come back. It's unacceptable otherwise. Like I will do whatever. I will testify for you. In season 8, it's like, I tried to get everybody to quit. Like, he is looking for the solutions to the problem.
He's also got a hilarious line in both of these. So this season's is, Bobby's like, I left Chimney as captain because I thought it'd be easier for you because he's your friend. And he's like, Chimney is my friend. And term Captain Han, he's a monster.
But that's also establishing that delineation between, you know, Chimney as he is as a peer, as opposed to someone who has a role of authority, you know, and leadership. those have to be different. It can't be like equal, but different.
But at least Chimney isn't calling him his little buddy and touching him. So there's that. He calls me little buddy and he touches me. He is wild. Anyway, that's about all I have to say about Buck in this episode until we get to Slow Burn.
Buck just reiterates, he says very emphatically, the 118 doesn't work without you, Bobby.
Oh yeah, no, it doesn't.
We really see how the 118 is so, like, we talk about that Buck is the glue a lot for the 118, like, as a family, but the 118 as a fire station, that's Bobby as the glue. And I think we really do see that, how it was established as that way in Bobby Begins Again.
This might make sense as a metaphor. Buck is the heart. Bobby's the head.
Yes. Agreed.
Yay.
Good job.
Cracked it.
So Hen comes in next, and she is also concerned, complaining about interim Captain Han. Bobby's like, you have to be conscientious. Like, there's going to be a little bit of a an adjustment period. And she's like, conscientious or mad with power? Like is Chimney being conscientious or mad with power? And and like, responsible Chimney is freaking her out.
Freaking me out.
Yeah. because again, there is a difference between Chimney as her partner in the ambulance and Chimney as the leader. She's like, he's not you, Cap. And Bobby's like, well, you shouldn't expect him to be. And
she's like, you should tell him that because he's just trying to be Bobby.
Yeah.
He's like, WWBD. What will Bobby do?
Nobody can be Bobby.
No.
Except Bobby. So Hen is also trying to adjust to like life under interim Captain Han leadership. And it's so funny. It's a tough balance to draw. And then we see Eddie, who is not talking about Chimney. Rather, he is maybe a little more intrigued by Bobby's wedding planning stuff, because he picks up like all of these things that are like strewn about the table, and he's like picks it up and has like a slightly like face like
first of all, ew.
Like mildly disgusted, and also just kind of like, I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole sort of thing. And it's like, oh, this is all happening while, you know, your marriage is on your mind. Okay. Interesting reaction to the idea of, you know, getting married and spending the rest of your life with someone. And he doesn't like that for him.
But he starts off the same way that Buck did. I mean, he's already seated when he says it, but the first thing we hear him say is, you sure I'm not in your hair? So I think it's cute that both of them are like, is it okay that I'm here bothering you when you're not my captain, but like, you're still kind of my father?
Father figure.
But yeah, so he's like, this conversation drives me nuts. he says, another baby. I mean, are we ready for that? I'm like, shouldn't you be talking to your wife about this?
Why would he talk to Shannon about this?
And Bobby's like, were you ready the first time? And he's like, I know I loved her, but I didn't think I was ready to be married. No shit. No shit. And then he's like, I guess the question is, can I be a good husband? And and Bobby says, that is the question. Are you ready to ask it? And I don't think he really asks himself it.
No, because that's the transition to Harry.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think they leave it open-ended on purpose, because Eddie isn't ready, because the way that he's just like looking at all the wedding planning stuff is just like he has so much ambivalence about marriage I think in general, because he doesn't have a good history with it.
Because he was forced to get married by his parents.
But also not just marriage as like the institution of marriage, but also like ambivalence about partnership in a more romantic life sense as opposed to on the job sense.
Mm-hmm.
And he's more concerned with like his responsibility to step up to be a good father, which they already know that he is.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, I've gotten that kind of in the bag, I guess, because people tell me that. And it's all focused on his responsibility to his family for this, and not because of an intrinsic motivation of, I want to do this for us because I love our family, and I have a responsibility to the mother of my child / children, and a responsibility to the children to keep their mother in their lives as long as I can, because it didn't work out great the first time.
I don't know if you guys caught this, but in between the transition, I think it's between Hen and Eddie, right? So in that transition, I think, because I don't think we've touched upon the transitions in the firehouse as examples of like how Chimney is a little out of control. Mm-hmm. But like, you know, there's the Alex scene of it all. No one's gonna understand that. But the when he's cooking and whatever. So like they have to order pizza. Sorry, that is like a deep lore Alec thing. Anyway, so they have to order.
Oh, I thought you said Alex, and I was like, I don't understand.
Oh no,
I said Alec.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Well, if
that's not lore. Alec is drunk Scylla. That's all.
And drunk Scylla was actually not there during the fire in her house. So I will say that I was perfectly sober. Oh God,
is that better or worse?
Anyway, they order pizza, and you know who grabs a slice of pizza? Eddie. And you know what he's doing? Instead of eating with the family at the firehouse, he's walking away. So walking away from his family.
Oh, yeah.
This is my thing. He's asking if he's ready for another kid, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like, why is that not what you're focused on instead of, can I be a good husband? You being a father again is not resting on the fact that you have to be a husband. He is thinking of it that like, oh, if we're pregnant again, then we have to stay together.
Yes. Well,
that's how he's thinking of it.
We've talked about this before, that he doesn't realize he
doesn't know about divorce.
Yeah. It's in his mind, one equals all of it. And you can't have one without the other. So in his mind, having Shannon in Chris's or whatever potential other children's lives comes with the responsibility of making her his wife. And he can't separate those. I think we talked about this. It must have been Merry Xmas.
Probably.
Because it was like he can't separate those. They have to, in his mind, that comes sold as a set, right? Children and wife. Sold as a set, do not separate again. So he doesn't realize that like they can have a completely amicable relationship where they're not in a romantic relationship and they're just co-parenting, which is ironic because that's exactly what he does with Buck. I mean, like, he's doing it, and just, it's because she's a lady. That's the only difference.
It's just, he's crazy.
I'm sorry, that should have gone in slow burn, but just like
a little bit, but it's okay.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Well, it's because he's still questioning.
Gay is part of his arc.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. And then he's questioning, like, are we running for this? Am I ready to be a good husband? Like,
what do I want from her? I don't know.
And it just makes me wonder, because I think we've talked about like Eddie running away, and I think that's what I was trying to get at with the whole pizza thing, like not like as a symbol of just going, like, and that family norm type of thing.
And it's a little more innocuous than like running away like Shannon. Like, he went to the army, which is more like socially acceptable, right?
Well, this is still, you could look at it as a very minor one, but he ran to go talk about this with his boss who's suspended instead of talking about it with his wife.
And this is what he was doing in Haunted, where he was literally avoiding all of this conversation with Shannon by entering into a physical relationship with her. And he was talking about it with like he was talking about it with Buck.
Yeah.
And not the person that he should have been talking about it with, which was Shannon. And he's doing the same thing again, but Bobby.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll say one last thing, because like I can expand on it in Eddie's section in a little bit here. That is the question. Are you ready to ask it? If him asking the question was the answer that he gave Shannon at dinner, what the fuck? Because it was very much a shrug emoji, I guess.
Which is par for the course. I guess she was the love of my life.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Anyway, on to less depressing things.
So Harry has his first crush and is trying to ask out a girl to the dance, which is so
cute.
It's
cute that he's talking to Bobby about it.
It's adorable. And it really shows like how the Grant Nash clan has kind of cemented themselves. Like,
continue to get closer.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's, Bobby's like, you like this girl, like ask her out and see what happens. And he's like, what if she laughs at me? And Bobby's very good advice. What if she doesn't?
He does have good advice there. Like,
I think the advice to Eddie was good too. Maybe the only time, but it was good.
Yeah. It's because he didn't actually give
him advice.
Yeah.
It was like, look at yourself. Listen to the words that you're saying.
Exactly.
My brother in Christ.
Literally. It's because Bobby was not giving Eddie this is what you should do.
Yeah.
He was saying, well, ask yourself this, which is the way that Bobby should be giving advice.
Yeah.
So he does give good advice here. And Harry's so cute. He's like, what you said, like, what if she laughs at me? What if she doesn't? And then Bobby's like, you didn't think I was nervous to ask your mom out? And Harry's like, yeah, but you had a fire truck.
Which, valid.
Yeah, I mean, that's
smart boy.
Also buck coated. He also had a fire truck. It's like, oh, no wonder he was able to pull.
Oh my God.
He has no game otherwise. Like, it's like, oh, look, I got my fire truck.
He doesn't have in-person game.
No.
With like first impressions, except for women who like really awkward men, which I guess that's me. So
I think a little bit of all of us.
Socially awkward.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't talk in words that make sense around me. That's adorable. You're so cute. Pat on the head.
Yeah. But it's also so cute because that really shows kind of this continued a little bit of hero worship that Harry has for Bobby, as just like, he's so cool. He's a firefighter. And this isn't like a dig at Michael. I think we've established that after they're broken. But it's just kind of like, yeah, Bobby's the coolest. He has a fire truck, which is kind of like how it's lovely how Harry sees Bobby.
Yeah.
In that kind of you're so cool way. And which brings us to interim Captain Han.
Jiminy.
Who is going through it.
He is.
So as much as everybody, or by everybody we mean specifically Buck and Hen, are complaining or commiserate.
No, he does complain. Eddie does complain about him.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
it's not what he leads with, I don't think, but
no, I think that's so. As much as everybody has been complaining about interim Captain Han, Chimney's going through it. He is so stressed out. He is so like, am I doing the right thing? Am I leading well? Like, I know I'm being the most obnoxious person ever. They all hate me. And
that's the first thing he says. Yeah. They all hate me. A little bit.
I feel like I think we talked about like how Chimney is always friendship. Like he is not good at leadership positions. I mean, like he's good, but like he can be, but
he doesn't like it.
He doesn't like it. Exactly.
It's uncomfortable for him.
The leadership gets thrust upon him.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I don't think it was asked if he wanted to do it.
No, but he also thought it was going to be fun, though.
He did. Yeah.
I think he said the chief asked if he would do it, and I think he said yes because it sounded like it was going to be fun. So it wasn't on Bobby's like recommendation, which he probably would have, but Chimney is also probably one of.
No, Bobby did recommend him.
Oh, okay.
He says it. He says that he did. He says it to Buck.
Ah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think it's because Chimney is someone that they're familiar with, their friend,
senior
and
person he is there.
That too.
Yeah.
So he thought it would be fun to boss them around a little bit, make Buck. What did he say? Like wash his
car. I think.
Wash his car. Like he's hazing as he's like the president of the frat house, and he's hazing the
newbies,
the rushers. Like
yeah,
he's hazing the people who are already like seniors.
I know. But he doesn't take to that position of power very well because he doesn't know how to balance that difference between friend Chimney and interim Captain Chimney, and it's hard for him to do both. But Bobby says like a good captain finds a way to do both. I think this is the best advice that Bobby gives anybody ever.
Yes,
where just like blanket statement here, where he's like he says to Chimney, you don't have to worry about being their friend because you already are. That's established. Don't worry about that. They trust you. Now you have to put your trust in them and yourself. And I think that's like a really big part of the equation because we saw Chimney just trying to be Bobby, and Chimney is not Bobby. Chimney is Chimney. Chimney's his own person. And Bobby says, don't push them, lead them. And it's that being in front of them to lead them, but also being behind them to have their back, like Bobby said in Bobby Begins.
Yeah. So after he says they all hate me, then he's like, is this like a bad time? So I don't know. I just thought it was interesting because Harry doesn't say anything either, but like he knows like this is my soon to be stepdad. Like he knows he belongs there. He's only anxious about what he's going through, not about taking up Bobby's time. Hen, fully confident in being there. She's not anxious about taking up Bobby's time.
No.
At all. But
she's the most self-confident one out of all of them, let's be real.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, she knows who the fuck she is. Right. So that helps. So Buck and Eddie and Chimney all are anxious a little bit about taking up
more
Bobby's
room.
time.
Yeah.
Like they might not be welcome there or like might not belong there since it's not like he's not their captain right now. Are they friends when he's not their captain? Because that has not been established yet. You know what I mean? So I just thought that was interesting.
It also kind of gets established just like very briefly because we don't really touch on Bobby as his own arc in this episode really, except like at the very end where he and Athena are, decide to leave the seeing the wedding venue, and they're like, well, what kind of couple are we? Are we a barbecue out in the back porch kind of couple? And it's like, well, yes.
Well, yes, you are.
So that is establishing the kind of like outside of the job kind of relationship that they end up having with everybody. And I think this helps pave the way for that too. Yeah. So cute.
And it's just cute how much wedding planning shit that Bobby has on the table.
Oh my God.
Never mind. That's in slow burn.
I know. I want to talk about it too.
Anyway, let's just transition right into Chimney and talk about him on the calls and at the station, and what interim captain Chimney Han is like, what he's going through.
So we see kind of like from the very beginning, like that first call with the lottery winner, and Chimney is, when they arrive on the scene, Chimney is like rearing to go, except he's rearing to go as a paramedic, and currently he is not, because he's supposed to be like the incident commander, or the incident like chief in command, or whatever it's called, the IC.
Yeah.
Okay.
Incident command.
Thank you. So he's the one who's supposed to be like, okay, you do this, you do that, da, 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 da. And he's just like, forgets that.
No.
And continues to kind of forget that, which is...
Well, he's been up on the job the longest. It's just muscle memory, It's that autopilot.
Yeah. From the very beginning, we see that this is what he's struggling with in this episode. And like at the chocolate factory, and he just kind of like runs away, or everybody thinks for a brief moment that like he's run away. And it's I don't think Eddie or Hen really thought that he would just like bounce.
No, but they were like, where the fuck did he go?
Yeah, just kind of like, huh? and it was to utilize his resources.
Yeah, I mean, he could have utilized his resource of all of the people who work there.
Yeah.
And asked them, but
it's
Bobby's a chef.
But it was not only utilizing his resource of Bobby as someone who is familiar with like cooking stuff, but familiar with leadership. So I think it was twofold there. And then I think we see like all of like in the therapy with Bobby montage, like all of those little interstitials with Chimney just like barking out orders and being just generally insufferable.
So I'd still take a Captain Han over Captain Gerard.
Well, every day.
For sure. But he is channeling Captain Gerard a little bit.
He was, yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. In how strict he was being.
And the strictness, and then just like the bullshittery of like the stuff he was making people do. Mm-hmm. It's like, who cares how they fold the goddamn hose? Like,
he's trying to impart his wisdom that he's learned in his many, many years. And it's so funny because he's just like, he's trying to fill the shoes that Bobby has left.
Yeah.
And he's not going about it in the right way. And the pendulum is swinging too far.
So it's like he has the terror that he's bringing, kind of inspired by Gerard, but is also kind of inspired by like how he is as a friend and like plays with them. But then it's like when you're doing it in a leadership way, that's like,
it's not fun anymore because it's not your buddy.
Yeah. But then he has the like, now I'm in Bobby mode trying to be Bobby, like when he is trying to cook. So it's just very cute because he's trying to do all these things, and none of those things are just him trying to be himself as a leader.
Exactly.
He's the easiest thing to try and do.
He's trying to be something he's not because he doesn't see himself as someone in a leadership position or someone capable of leading a team like this. Yeah. So it's also coming from a place of insecurity as well, of not only like, am I going to be a good enough Bobby like stand-in, but am I going to be good enough to be a leader like this just like at all? And that's why he ends up overcompensating so significantly. But it's after this talk that he has with Bobby that we see this kind of, click into place a little bit. So I think it's at the porch bomb call, and Chimney's taking point. So he's telling people what they need to do and where they need to go. But he is also like taking point because he's the most experienced paramedic. So he's trying, this is him trying to be both. So like still finding his footing a little bit where I don't think we really see it come as much to fruition until they get on the scene with Shannon's accident, which also then shakes his confidence again. So you see him attempting to multitask a little bit more, and he
Mhm.
feels more, or he seems more confident in himself and his abilities because he has that like strategy of like, okay, I'm going to I know they trust me, I'm going to trust them, so I'm going to lead from front and behind in that way. And I think that really like starts to make sense for him as he's
Mhm.
working on the lawyer lady. But when they do show up to the car accident with Shannon, and you see him kind of like he's in his, it seems like he's more in his element now, because he's like, okay, like Hen, you're with me, Buck and Eddie check on the driver, so and so do triage, you know. So he's learning and kind of getting a better sense of how to multitask by doing his job as a paramedic, but also in captaincy. And I think that really does kind of get shaken when, you know, there's that moment where they hesitate and they kind of look to Eddie and ask if Eddie wants to intubate Shannon. And Eddie doesn't say anything. He just kind of like looks overwhelmed.
He looks like the most devastated I've probably ever seen him look.
And it's Chimney then that makes the actual call to say, Hen, hold off. Eddie, go like say goodbye to your wife. So he's doing that as both a paramedic, a friend, and the captain. So he's taken on a lot of responsibility in that moment, which then we see him really grappling with in the aftermath of that.
Yeah.
And then Hen visits, and they discuss what happened, and Chimney is just like beating himself over and over again about how he screwed up because he withheld medical care from a patient. And Hen and he's comparing himself to Bobby again, saying, you know, like I was trying to do what Bobby does, and I was trying to be him, and Hen is kind of his voice of reason here, as she so often is with everybody. Because she says like, listen, she was already like, Shannon was already, her body was already gone. It just took a little while for her brain to catch up with her body. And you know, she talks about how proud she is of Chimney, and this is just such a wonderful.
This is one of my favorite scenes of them literally ever. Yes. It's so good.
It is. This is best friendism to the max. Because she tells Chimney what he really needed to hear, which was how proud she is of him, even when she's like giving him grief, which is so warranted, and he knows that. He's like, he kind of deserved it. But a lot of that was coming from a place in herself where she was conflicted about him getting this promotion, because she, as much as she wants to see him succeed, she knew that like once Chimney figured out that he could do it, because she also had the faith that he would, that life as a paramedic and her partner just wouldn't be good enough for him anymore. And that's when she like, and I know we just said like Hen is always the most like self-confident person. This is like one of the very few times that we see kind of a chink in that armor, and it's because it hits so close to home about her and Chimney as friends and partners, and you know, wanting to stick through it together, and because she knew that he would be great at it if he realized it in himself.
Yeah, and if he wanted to do it, you know, like if he realized he wanted to do it. So yeah, I don't even know that it's like insecure so much as just like
unsure about the future.
Yeah, not liking being unsure of the future, and like that's not just her best friend, and that's never going to change, which she says to him, and I fucking love that. But that's not just her best friend, that is her partner. That is, you know, the unromantic kind of partnerness that we get with fucking Eddie, you know, where it's like they just know each other so well on the job that it'd be so impossible to like And we see this with both of them.
Yeah.
Impossible to pair them with someone else. And then it's just like things wouldn't be the same. And she doesn't want to lose him as a partner at work, even though like they'd still be best friends. She doesn't want to lose him as a partner because of how well they work together, but also she just loves doing it with him.
Yeah. And he responds like he misses being in the ambulance with her. And he feels like everything is changing, but not their relationship, which is an interesting thing that we also see. Like, this is the second time we see or hear in this episode that, like, you know, this doesn't change anything in our relationship. It's also kind of an interesting tie there because it really doesn't change their relationship. And the other example does. So
yeah, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, I don't know. This scene is it's Aisha.
Both of them together, both Aisha and Kenneth
Kenny
are
just
such
so
powerhouses in this like emotive sense, and it's so good.
It's just so sweet.
Yeah.
It's just so sweet. It is. It's just look up best friendism in the dictionary. It's them.
And
it's
in
this
Chim.
scene. Yeah.
Yeah, that is how you do platonic besties.
Yes. That is platonic besties. And it's the fact that like they needed to have this conversation, but like ultimately she just wanted to be there to check up on him after that call with Shannon. And that this conversation just happened because of it. But she just wanted to be there for him because she knew he wouldn't be okay. And
she
why
knew,
she's there.
And it's the fact that she knew that he would be like torturing himself about this. And she had to go over there and console him. And she wasn't doing that as the subordinate of interim captain Han. She was doing that as Chimney's partner, as his best friend.
Yeah.
So there we have like the full range for Chimney.
All the things.
All the things. He is all the things, everything, everywhere at once.
All at once. Yeah.
He's a bagel.
It's an everything everywhere all at once reference. Have you ever looked at someone and thought, wow, God must hate them?
Is this a supernatural reference in where Tim is Chuck?
No, but it can be if you want it to be. No, that was just a song reference.
Oh.
I was trying to figure out which one were you talking about. Are you talking about Eddie or Shannon?
Eddie is not God's favorite.
No, he's not.
I mean, neither is Shannon. So, where do we start with Eddie in this episode?
Oh, Eddie.
Just wow.
Oh, Eddie.
Just wow, my dude. Okay. Should we start at the beach?
Snow.
At the beach.
Snow
Oh, I went completely different.
So yeah, he's at the beach with his wife.
Question mark.
I mean, like they're married, but they're not, but they're married.
No,
you know?
Eddie is at the beach with Chris and the mother of his child.
And Christopher's mother. Yeah. And Eddie is so happy. He's as long as Christopher's happy, Eddie is happy.
Yeah. Because that is his world, his motivation for everything. He says, Chris is happy. I'm good. I've succeeded in life because I have made my child happy. And if that's what it takes for him to be happy, well, I can suck it up.
And I do just want to touch on this very quick, and we cannot spiral. So maybe you guys can all say like one or two things about it. When he says that kid was born happy, and Shannon says, I don't know where he gets it from. And he's like, me. And she's like, okay, Mr. Buddie. I'm like, no, he probably was a happy kid for the couple years that he actually got to be a kid.
Wait, are you talking about Chris or Eddie?
Eddie.
Oh,
Yes. So I think that was a serious thing. Like he gets it from me.
Before he was burdened with the responsibilities of the world on his shoulders, Mr. Atlas, I'm holding up the entire like sky. Yeah, and we know that he and Shannon met in school, so like that was definitely after he was 10 years old and
they met in high school. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe
I feel like that's some unlocked lore right there. Because like, yeah, he definitely could have been like a super happy child, like a super an outgoing child that stuck around to his sisters and mama maybe until Ramon ruined it with his gonna be the man of the house. And that's when, typically, especially in these kinds of households, that's when they have to put that kind of brooding mask and like very responsible, very like serious mask on to basically fulfill that role.
And it's a role that he didn't choose. And when Eddie and Shannon are having that conversation, he's like, well, hopefully Chris gets your smarts and my good looks. And we've never really seen him have like that kind of like
banter with any other romantic interests.
Yeah, it's banter
except for
yeah.
It's banter, but it's also like, propping himself up a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think he really thinks of himself in anything besides like failure.
I think it's actually a very cute. So like, I mean, he's insane and like, oh my God. But it is very cute. Their
adorable.
friendship is cute.
Yes.
Their friendship is very sweet. And I love how comfortable he seems to be himself in that capacity.
Yes. Like that is pure, like undiluted Eddie, where he has that banter. He is like, making fun by being a little full of himself in like a silly way, but also complimenting, the other person because it's like, oh, you're smart and I'm just good looking, like, but we know what's more important. And it's there, which is that similar kind of banter that they had when they were in bed together in Merry Xmas. And I love seeing that like rapport of what that relationship was originally before it got again bogged down with all of this responsibility, with all of the real world aspects, the real world things that they have to deal with. So it's like that is Eddie at his truest, but also like Eddie and Shannon at their most real as well.
Yeah, and he says, she asks him like, what are we doing? And he's like, what do you mean? And she's like, I need to know what you want. And he's like, this, because he is happy with that. He's happy being at the beach with his friend and his son and the mother of his kid. He's happy with that. He likes co-parenting with her. He likes hanging out with her and Chris. But she has visitation with Chris. She takes Chris. Like, so the setup is not we are a married couple.
Yeah.
But the lines are blurred because they're kissing. We don't know if they're still sleeping together.
It can be assumed, but it's also they might be falling back on that like casual physical intimacy that would have been established at the beginning of their relationship when they were like first going out and stuff. It's kind of a little bit like a high school relationship with added child, like with fully fleshed child.
But he's happy with that because he doesn't have the weight of the pressure of thinking about we're a couple, we're married.
The expectation is different.
He doesn't have to be doing the performance thing because there's no label on what's happening, right?
Because as soon as it gets labeled, that's where he's like, okay, now I have to fulfill this role and fulfill this expectation. And I'm a slave to the responsibility. And
exactly.
I think he feels more free without that label. And
yep. And you can see it in his face and his body language as soon as he finishes that sentence when he's like, and my kid's mother, or however he words that, implies that it's, it doesn't say my wife or my partner. He's not even girlfriend. Like, no, it's Christopher's mother. And she's like, is that how you see me? It's okay if that's how you see me, but just like, she wants to know. She wants to define the relationship, which is fair. Which is fair because
she's living in limbo.
Yeah. And I mean, they've both been living in limbo for a long time. But now that things are like
progressing,
reconciled, they're co-parenting, they're in each other's lives again. It's like, you need to know what you're doing. You need to figure out what you both want and move forward from there. And that's what she's trying to do. And he immediately clams up and is like, so he goes from being like calm, relaxed, really happy, silly, goofy to, I don't know. I'm just waiting for a sign. Like, bro, what? It's just such a weird answer. It's like you either have feelings for this person and you want to try and make it work, or you don't. Like that. Those are the two options. Like, I get it's complicated because like they're married and they have a kid, but like those were two normal people. Those would be the two options. He wants juice.
Like he doesn't consider what he wants to be like an achievable thing.
Yeah,
because it's just out of the question.
Yeah, like all of anything that he would want, anything that he would wish for, like I think for his entire life he's had to put it aside because of any kind of responsibility that comes his way, you know, with like his own family and then now Christopher and when we've talked about so many times about like how he puts Christopher first
because he's so busy trying to make sure Christopher's needs are met. He doesn't give himself time to even, I think what he would want if given the opportunity. Yeah. So like when he says he doesn't know, he actually doesn't know because I don't think he's let himself think about it at all.
He doesn't want to think about it because like I said, he's happy with not
looking at that,
defining things.
Yeah.
But that's not really
he
fair.
Doesn't want to think about shit. No, it's not fair.
Yeah.
It's not fair. So then we later see them on a FaceTime call, and Shannon's at lunch with Christopher and Abuela, and it's just a very cute call, and we actually get to hear our what?
Oh, sorry. So on this FaceTime call, I was confused for a second, because she's wearing the same yellow floral shirt that she does when the accident happens, and for a second on like the first watch through of this, I was like, wait, is this their last conversation? And it's not, because the dinner happens later. But I was like, is this just an oopsie? or maybe she just wore the same shirt twice. Like,
I'm just gonna go with she wore the same shirt twice.
Yeah,
I think they probably just filmed it all in one day.
That's what
and
I think
then
so
the way that they ended up laying out the episode was different than how it originally was supposed to be. But yeah, I was confused about that at first too, because I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, because
anyway.
Sorry, because I was thinking about that and I was like, okay, if they filmed it all in the same day, or they had it laid out that would be like the immediate precursor to her getting hit by the car. I'm like, but where does the dinner come in after? Like around this, because it seems like it would only make place after this FaceTime, because if it happened before, that would be weird. Anyways,
that's true.
Just a thought.
So on this FaceTime call, we do get our first single standalone, not including Christopher, I love you, that he says to her. And then shortly followed by after Buck jumps down and is like, when's the wedding? He's like, wait, we don't have to get married again, do we? Like no. You're a full grown ass adult. What are you talking about? Do we have to get married again, do we?
He's so stupid sometimes.
It really is.
It's like he thinks his parents are going to jump out of nowhere and be like, oh, you're having another kid and you decided to get back together. You have to get married again.
Yeah, it's like
it's the trauma probably from being forced to get married at 19 or whatever.
Yeah, because like I can't. I can't imagine. I'm not like trying to think like the rules of Catholicism, and I'm like, I don't think they have to if they've never actually got divorced.
No. But I think what the reasoning behind that is because like they don't feel like they're already married. So, or
he keeps saying that in this episode.
He keeps saying it, but he doesn't feel it, and it's also because they may already be married, and he keeps like emphasizing that, but they don't feel committed to each other the way a marriage should be, the way that Bobby sees the way that Eddie sees Bobby committing to Athena and stuff like that. So I think it's less of a like, do we have to get married again, and more of a like, this doesn't feel like a real commitment in our relationship so far. So it's a little bit of rehashing, like even though they're married in paper and like official documentation, it's almost like they're having another kid out of wedlock again to him,
my
I
God.
think, because they're not in that kind of committed relationship. Yeah, so he says that, and Buck is like, well, maybe Bobby can give you talk to Bobby. Maybe he can give you a discount. And Eddie's face is
like barf.
Yeah, like he's like, ha, 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 like that was funny. And then like realization washed over him, and he was like, oh, do I wedding, marriage, commitment, ooh.
Big yikes.
And you see that kind of face keep popping up on his face when he's confronted with, you know, these parallels of married couples or partnerships or anything like that multiple times. And it's just like, he looks less than thrilled. He looks really just kind of like, I might be sick if I think about this too long.
Yeah.
And that, my dude, is the answer that you were looking for. If you're not excited about it, the answer's probably no.
Yep.
But he's like, but that's what I want is not important. So I must do the right thing. God.
Okay.
Oh, Eddie.
All right, we got to get into this.
Yes, this is our moment.
I was trying to think of something that sounded better than this, but currently dubbed the disaster dinner.
Yeah, it is a disaster. It does not go well. So I think if we're talking about themes, like both Eddie and Shannon go into it with very different expectations, and the reality is drastically different than they expect. So
I just gotta listen. The man said he was looking for a sign in this episode, right? He was wishing for a sign to figure out what to do.
And he thought he
but then
got
the
it.
man can't sit across from someone he has known for how fucking long and read her own signs, like of her facial expressions, her body language, the words she's trying to say, which are all screaming, actually, that's not what I'm feeling or what I came here to talk to you about.
And I think he can't recognize that because he's running away from that in himself. Because let's be real, they both don't want to be in that marriage together.
No, they don't.
They don't at all. Like, they are both terrified of it so much because of their past and where they are now. And it's just like, so I think Eddie doesn't see that in her because he is so focused on trying to do right by her and trying to do the right thing and being what is expected of him, that he doesn't realize that what she expects of him is also completely different, which is kind of like a flip parallel to like Buck in relationships, where he's trying to be what he thinks the other people want him to be, and Eddie's trying to like assert what he thinks that he has to be for that other person without actually taking what their expectations are into consideration. And so he's running away from what she expects of him because he's running away from what he expects, from what he actually wants, in lieu of his self-proclaimed expectations of himself.
I just want to say that this man thinks that the peak of romanticness is going, life is like a vat of molten chocolate. Yeah, sometimes you fall into it. It drags you down. But it's warm.
It's warm
sweet.
and sweet.
And she's even like, this is a very weird metaphor, because it is.
It's
Uh-huh.
the worst
terrible
metaphor you could ever have.
Yeah.
Quite honestly.
And then he goes on and he's like, when you came back into our lives, I was so glad. I was afraid. I knew Christopher missed you, but I don't think I realized just how much I did too. And by the way, he's stammering through all of this. And she tries to interrupt him and he's like, please just let me say this. And we were so young the first time, you know, young and not ready, but we had this amazing kid. Being his dad has been the single greatest joy of my life. Nothing about her. Nothing about her. Nothing about how much he cares about her, how much he wants to try and make a real relationship, like as adults, and get to know each other again and be partners. Nothing about what he thinks about her, why he loves her. Nothing about her.
There's nothing about how she makes him feel either. Like he's completely taken himself out of the equation of this too. Because it's all about Christopher.
Yeah. And he's like, little boys taught me more about being a man than the war ever did. She calls him a great dad. And he says, well, if I am, it's because he deserves it, which I feel like I could unpack in a 30-minute minisode.
Put it in the ideas.
Put it in the ideas. And then he says, but he deserves his mommy too. He loves his mommy. So do I. I want us to be a family again. I wished for a sign. He laughs and says, I got one. And then she's like, I'm not pregnant. Really wish he would have just let her say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. She really did try to like cut him off because she knew what he was going to say. She's seen this film before and she didn't like the ending. This is probably exactly what it went like.
That's why she's trying to avoid the ending, which is what we get her saying for the rest of this, which is basically that why she left the first time could happen again if she doesn't do what she needs to do for herself. And that she needs to figure out how to be a good mother before she can think about being in a relationship.
And she says before she can be anyone's wife.
Yeah.
And it's like...
And he's like, we're still married. But
like he's been telling literally everybody in this episode, it's like, we're still married. We're still married. Dude, you don't want to be, so stop insisting that you are.
And when she says that she's not pregnant, he's like, what? And she's like, I was late. I freaked out. I freaked you out. I'm sorry. Like, that's gotta be a relief. And he's like, it doesn't change a thing for me. And she's like, well, it does for me.
I mean, if he was looking for his signs, this is an even bigger sign than that first sign, because that was a false sign. It's just like, take the hint. And he doesn't, because he's like, how many times have we seen? I've made my choice. I'm going to stick to it, and nothing will persuade me otherwise. That is what Eddie, that's what he does.
The stubborn fuck is what he is.
For fucking real.
Yeah. So he's kind of just taken aback. And they kind of leave it at that. Like, like she asked for the divorce, and that is absolutely not the way that he thought this dinner was going to go.
And he had to psych himself up for this.
So hard, yeah.
He had to psych himself up for this for days, I'm assuming, between the beach, her saying, I think I'm pregnant, to doing this. He had to psych himself up for it.
He had the whole speech about the chocolate dragging him down that he thought was romantic, and it was absolutely not. It was a cry for help.
Oh, what did I say while we were watching this?
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, I was like, he's so lucky he's pretty.
Yeah.
Because otherwise he could never pull women.
There's nothing behind those moo-moo eyes.
He's smart, but he just has no, what is this language? There's nobody I trust with my son more than you.
That's the most romantic thing he's ever said. Let's be real.
For real.
Where's he doesn't know you're an idiot. Once he knows you are, there's nothing personalized about this.
No.
It's just so like nothing about it is romantic at all.
The closest thing is just him saying, but it's still tied to Christopher. It's just saying that, oh, I missed having you around. But like, it doesn't, but again, it's like around, but nothing about you specifically, like what you missed about her and
how she makes him feel. Yeah. Nothing
there.
The like most romantic part about this is that he remembered that she liked those chocolates.
Yep. Very sweet. Like the chocolate. And I just want to say very, very quickly, and then we can move on to like the actual
what you all came here for.
Is just like, how long has Eddie felt like he's been drowning before he actually does? Like
since he was 10.
Since he was 10. And just he's never said it as, he does in this episode, but it's like, this is not something that he is just realizing that he's feeling. It's like he's been feeling like he's been being dragged down, even if it's like nice and warm and sweet, for his pretty much whole life, definitely their whole relationship. And the only thing that like pulls him back out is Chris and Buck. But like
me and Buck.
So
yeah.
Just Eddie and wells of various liquid. That's all.
All right. So we got to break this down.
when the 118 get on the scene, Chimney's taking point. He's telling everybody, what to do, blah, blah, blah. And so he tells Buck and Eddie to take care of the driver that ran into the pedestrians. And Buck sees Shannon first, and he tries to dissuade Eddie from, he's like, no, Eddie, no. And I think Eddie knows like immediately when Buck's expression changes, Eddie knows. He's like, oh no. And there's like a pit in his stomach and like, the going through like the worst possible scenarios. This is the worst one. So there's something about like that, just like he knows exactly what's going on because he sees it on Buck's face. And he immediately turns around and Chimney tries to keep him at bay. So Chimney is doing those spouse gloves, like Buck and Eddie were doing to the husband of the lawyer on the porch, just trying to, like keep him out of the way so the paramedics can do their jobs. But he can't keep them away for long because that is Shannon. And like, this is basically what Eddie thought of as his whole future again, kind of maybe, who knows, just like going up in absolute smoke. And Shannon,
I mean, she already did that, but
yeah, but I think Eddie was kind of trying to hold on to whatever like thread string that he could with that. Like maybe he could convince her otherwise. I don't know. So he gets to her and she's still conscious at that point, and she's like, Are you here? Are you actually here? Which I thought was very much giving the are you hurt from 413? Just kind of like in this delirious state of like, what is happening? Why are you here? Is this real? Is this real life? And it doesn't look good. So Eddie asks Chimney like, how bad is it? And Chimney, to his credit, doesn't pull any punches, and he says bad.
Spinal injury, maybe worse. Yeah.
So that's why they allow Eddie to kind of like, it's this whole theme of when it's your emergency really coming to the forefront again. And so they start loading Shannon into the ambulance, and their her vitals are really trending down. So they have to intubate her, and Chimney has to like asks Eddie, or tells him, that if we intubate, there's a likely chance that that's not going to come out. And I think we mentioned earlier, like Eddie's face he's absolutely destroyed. He cannot process what's happening. He doesn't answer. He just looks like he's going to crumble in on himself. And Chimney is the one that ultimately makes the decision to allow Eddie these extra moments with Shannon kind of unencumbered like that. And I can only imagine what's going through Eddie's mind. It's like, he's obviously thinking about Christopher. Like, we just got her back. Christopher, like, what am I going to tell Christopher? She's leaving again. But also like, I have to imagine that he is thinking a little bit of himself in this with like, what am I going to do now? Like, how are we going to do this without you? Like, I can't believe you're also leaving me again with no note. But
she was already leaving him.
Yeah. But now it's like a worse leaving.
Yeah.
Because it's a no coming back for the weekend sort of thing.
Yeah, this might be a hot take. I think he's already angry.
Yes.
And that's part of the reason that he's so fucking crazed looking and saying some insane things.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because it's like again, I don't think he's processing anything fully because it's just shock at this point. But I think you're right. I think he is angry with how he was trying so hard to reestablish them as a family and trying to do the right thing, and she shut that down.
She ripped the rug out from under him of what he thought. Yeah.
He's thinking, oh no, I've failed her. And now he's seeing this and he's like, I've failed her again, and I can never like set it to right. I can never do right by her again because I know what's going to happen, and this is how it's going to end.
He'll never be able to figure out if he can be a good husband.
He will never get that opportunity. So that expectation will never meet a reality in this sense. He'll never be able to make it up to her, to make it up to Chris for driving his mother away. So it's that anger
and letting her back in for her to just
to leave
be gone again. Yeah, I think there's just a lot going on in his head at one time, and he is trying to like be present and focus on her for the little time she has left. But yeah, I don't.
Yeah, so he's angry at her, but he's more angry at himself.
Yeah.
God.
That's why I feel like the scene where he's reading the letter and he's crying, I feel like it's more than just like sadness over her dying. It's more than that. I think it's like grief and anger as well. Like you guys said, I think I think Ryan's acting like really translated more than just, oh, I'm mourning my wife.
It's mourning what could have been.
Oh, it's layered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
It's mourning, I think most of all, mourning the mother of his child. It's mourning what she'll never get to be for Chris, what she'll never get to see.
What Chris will never have. Growing up. Yeah, he's mourning that Shannon won't be able to watch Chris grow up. And he's mourning that Chris will have to grow up without his mother, especially after he just got her back.
And do you think, I would be thinking about this because I just can't shut my brain off, and I always think about every possible fucking scenario. But do you think that he's like, what if I never brought her back into our lives?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
She wouldn't be here, but she would be alive.
Yeah.
Like, what would be the better scenario for Chris and Shannon to have had those last few months full of joy and happiness and like feeling like a normal family, just to have that ripped away? So it's like they're left with those wonderful and good memories. At least Chris's. Eddie's are a little more complicated, but so yeah, like what's the better scenario here? To never have those, but still have the opportunity for her or for Chris to seek each other out, or for her to get completely ripped away and that can never be repaired.
I feel like this question has gone through his head, but like I'm thinking about in season 5 when he's having his breakdown, he pulled all of those wounded soldiers from that while he was on tour. So it's kind of like, I saved them and now like they're all dead. So I think that has it's continuous, because it's like, oh, I brought Shannon back and now she's dead. Now like it's very similar. So I'm pretty sure he has like thought about that. Like, what if I never brought her back into my life? Maybe she would have still been alive or something.
I kind of wonder if Eddie sees himself a little bit as like this harbinger of death.
Maybe.
He might.
And that
he stepped back and looked at everything.
Yeah, and that he is the...
Maybe that's the sign.
The sign.
Well, speaking of signs, when we're in the hospital after like they've called time of death and they're taking the tube out, he's looking at her through glass.
The glass.
So it's a parallel shot to him looking at the couple in the ambulance.
Yes.
Yeah. And also the moment where I think you can look back and go, this is the culmination of ruined expectations from the theme of miracles that have been happening for the past couple of episodes. Yeah. And the signs, all of the signs were pointing to, different things. It's
going to be okay. No,
yes.
This is exactly what we pointed out in the last couple episodes where it was broken, and we were talking about how with Sonia, the mother who was giving birth, and like what a miracle it was for her to like be on the brink of death and come back. Yeah. And even in this episode, so many of the victims and the patients, they were going to be okay. Like the lottery guy was not a spinal, like he was gonna live. They were setting up all of this expectation and as red herrings. And I think a lot of this might have been building a little more throughout the season as well, where it's just like, yes, and they're going to be okay until this. And it's just...
until it's him.
until the rug just gets pulled out from under Eddie and the viewer, because we're expecting these miracles have been happening. Like, it's incredible that these people are still okay. Like, this guy fell off this building and he's okay until it's Shannon, and then it's like, oh, red herring.
It's kind of sick.
Yeah, it's
kind of sick.
It's
and twisted. Yeah,
dirty Tim.
Dirty Tim doing Eddie dirty once again. Well, yeah, we mean this affectionately.
Yeah.
So we got to go back into the ambulance for a little bit and talk about Eddie. Come here. Come closer. Just be silent. Just be silent. I'm not a violent person. I have never smacked anyone in any way other than like jokingly.
He deserved to get a little bit of a slap.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just be silent. I'm going to choose to blame the script a little bit on this.
You're going to blame the writer?
And I'm going to choose to like understand it from the point of view that we were talking about, how he's angry and he's experiencing all these emotions and he can't process them. And she's speaking and saying these things that he doesn't want to hear.
Yep, because if she loved him so much, then she would have still wanted to be married. Yeah.
Why was she leaving? And he, and it was like, I'll never get answers. And you're just going to keep talking and saying more things that are going to make me feel worse.
It's going to haunt him.
Yeah. So, he says, just be silent, which, is very, unfortunately, in character for Eddie to just say these out of pocket things.
We've talked about from the very beginning of the season how many times he tells people to just like stop talking. Could it have been said with a little more couth of like, save your energy?
It would have been nice. It could have been nicer.
Sure. But would it have been Eddie?
No. And that's the thing. Just be silent. Like, coming from the brooding silent type, like,
I think it would have been
my guy
better if he would have just said stop.
Yeah.
Instead of just be silent.
Yeah. It's the be silent that's like almost condescending. I know he doesn't mean it that way, but it's
I know he doesn't, but he's just like,
it's such a wildly unhinged thing to say.
He's like, stop talking. Like, he really is just like, he needs her to stop talking.
It's just a wildly unhinged thing to say to someone who is dying and is trying to get out their last words. Come on.
Yeah, just like Gloria says, you're supposed to be there and listen to them. Comfort them.
Rewatching this with our friend Nikki, who's watching the show for the first time. And she likes Eddie, for the record. But when this happened, she was like, that gave me the ick. That gave me the ick real bad.
We were like, yeah,
I get it. But I was laughing hysterically because him saying that literally sends me into fits of hysteria.
Every time.
Because it's insane.
Wild.
Only Eddie Diaz.
The thing is that it's so in character.
Yes.
That makes it even more wild. It's just like that. It's just like on its face, unhinged thing to say.
I think it's just crazy because he's saying it to his wife. So because like if you said it to anyone else, I mean, I guess it's like whatever, but like it's his wife,
who is dying.
I know.
It's the mother
so bad.
of your son. Your mother of your son is dying.
Dying. Maniacal laughter.
You just know if Peppa or Abuela had heard him say that, they would backhand him.
Ooh, the chanclas would have been out.
They would have been flying.
Oh, that's such a great visual.
Oh my god, I could see it too.
So anyway, now that we've given you a mini segment just on Just Be Silent,
which you knew was coming, like, let's be real.
Oh my god. So then he says, after he gets her to stop talking, he's like, God, I love you so much. Christopher loves you so much. So we get 3 I love yous. Because we get one at the restaurant.
Yeah.
But he's like, in a weird way at the restaurant, because he's like,
I love you out of obligation.
But it was, he was saying that Christopher loves his mommy, and he was like, I do too.
Yeah. It's still very much connected to like
Yeah, so I think I'll just count this as the second standalone I love you, because that other one's still connected to Christopher. So this is the second time we ever hear him say I love you to his wife, who's been here for how many episodes?
10, kind of.
10 episodes.
On screen. Well, since 207.
Yeah, crazy. You take from that what you will.
She wasn't here for a long time, and she also was really
not here for a good time. No.
Poor
Long story short,
Shannon.
It was a bad time. Like, I really hope you're resting in peace.
She deserves it, honestly.
You know that she's like looking down at him and Anna and him and Marisol, like trying to scream at the women to warn them.
Oh, yeah. There is...
Don't do it. He'll tell you to shut up when you're dying.
There is a fantastic fic that I read where Shannon comes back. I think it's the... is it the Day of the Dead? Or
are you talking about,
Yeah, where you know, the veil between worlds is thin, and she comes back, and she and Eddie like actually have conversations, and it's just like, she deserved that, and I'll have to find that because
I do love that fic.
So good, and it really kind of gives the closure to both of them that they really deserve.
Yeah.
But that's what fanfiction is for.
Because he's still set up enough Brenda for her, right? Even though because Chris and him do it every year, but
and Chris is in Texas.
Yeah.
So then it's the funeral procession as they enter the hospital,
which is crazy. So like the shot from above, like after he says the I love yous, and then they finally start, they intubate her, and he leans back. Then it's a wide aerial shot of the engine in the ambulance, the aid car, and the sirens are on, but they are literally going slow, like it's a funeral procession.
It's kind of like what we see with Red later down the line.
Yeah.
That whole scene is very much like a funeral procession. Like the lights are on, but everyone is just trying to like, it's a little more slow motion. Everyone's trying to like respect, the fact that not only did they just lose a patient, one of their own just lost their spouse.
Yeah.
Kind of in name only, but
I mean, they don't know that.
Yeah, but still, it's so it's like it has even more of like a grave like shroud over the whole thing.
Yeah.
These are first responders, and they couldn't save this one, and it happens sometimes, but it's just even worse because of the fact that it's Shannon.
Yeah, and the whole kind of silent, like no dialogue little montage they do once he gets to the hospital is just really eerie. I want to say eerie.
Yes.
Because he looks like he's like dream walking, basically. Like he's not really there. Like he's moving and he's doing the things that he's supposed to do, but he's
so disassociated from everything. Like he is very much going through the motions. There's this fantastic shot after he receives her effects in this little Ziploc baggie. He exits from wherever that holding station is, or saying his last goodbyes to Shannon, and he comes out to the waiting room, and it's this shot. It is a wide shot. He is so teeny tiny small, and it's just like his head up. Like I don't think it's even his shoulders. It's just like his neck up. He's in the very like bottom right hand corner or quadrant of the shot, and it's visually him drowning in the circumstances that he now finds himself in, right? Even though he's like, he is just so overwhelmed with what has just happened, and he is just like getting buried under this weight of grief.
I do want to ask if you think there's anything to pick apart in when he's walking out holding her belongings and they kind of do a close-up on everyone as he passes them.
I definitely think there's something to that, because that is his team. That is his family. It's who he's found where he's meant to be, right? Kind of like in the last episode, like this must be the place. It is a beautiful moment because you see how this affects everyone else as well, because they feel so...
Even though they didn't know her.
No, because Eddie did not like to mix...
No, but they care about him very deeply. So...
And you really see like the emotional, I mean, all of these actors are fantastic emoters. Like you see Hen, you see Chimney, he's in tears for him.
Yeah.
You see Buck. It's almost like how we saw in Chimney Begins, that funeral for Kevin.
Yeah.
That kind of like official where they have the people down both sides of that aisle, and Eddie's just walking through. So kind of like in that sense, but also I think a little bit in that like military kind of sense as well, because those are structured similarly in that way, in that like official capacity. And he just goes straight to Bobby.
Yeah, which is, you think Buck called him?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Listen, if it was established that Buck already called Bobby about Christopher and bringing him to the station, Buck had that on lock.
And Buck did tell him to talk to Bobby earlier in the episode. If Buck doesn't feel like he's qualified to give advice to Eddie, he's always like, go to Bobby. Buck knows that Bobby knows better than anyone else what Eddie is going through right now.
Yeah. I don't think Hen or Chimney would have had the wherewithal to think about that, because we know Chimney is so concerned about like, oh my God, this, like I let this happen. I'm at fault here.
They were still giving care to Shannon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I
think you're right. I think it's Buck, because we see Bobby, he's not already there. He comes in like as Eddie is entering the waiting room, and they just like meet kind of in the middle. That's who he leans on.
It's a really sad parallel to the other time we see him hug Bobby, which is in just like deep, deep gratitude.
Yeah.
For, and in like kind of, I mean, emotional, but like a happy kind of joyous gratitude, and having like, you know, a team that has his back and that will care about his kid.
From 204 Stuck.
Yes, from 204.
For allowing Chris to be at the fire station, and Bobby's like, that's because where else would he be? So this is kind of, where else would Eddie be but with his family at the station? That includes Bobby. Absolutely.
And then we have the Bobby parallels of just, you know, the losing a wife, and the being in the ambulance with them, being in the hospital. It's like slightly different, but it's so
I mean, for back-to-back episodes, it's
back-to-back
poignant.
episodes is so purposeful. It's so purposeful.
Yeah. And I mean, at least Eddie still has Christopher.
Yeah. Well, kind of.
Thanks.
Wow.
He's not dead. He's just in Texas.
Well, we have to talk about the monologue with the letter that's playing over this whole scene with Shannon's letter that we see Eddie reading at the beach. And I didn't write all of it down, but she's like, this is her letter to Chris, which she said that she hoped she never wanted to send that letter. And it breaks my heart that, like, we know Chris doesn't read it yet, but that is like basically her last words to him, kind of. I'll just pull out a couple. She says, like, maybe you've already adapted to a world without me. I fear for that, and I hope for it at the same time. And I think so much of this letter can be read as, you know, Shannon meaning this to Christopher, but I think Eddie is also reading it for how it speaks to him as well, because he also doesn't get a letter. So like he has to pull whatever meaning he can for something that wasn't even like meant for him, which is also kind of sad in a way, because he also has to adapt to a world without Shannon. She thinks that she's not one of those best things that she wants for Christopher, at least not right now. So then he's also like, again, mourning that Christopher doesn't have that time with her. I think this is really interesting that she writes, you know, that she's made a lot of mistakes, and sometimes she feels like they'll pull her under, and that scares her. And we really see with that, I think, how similar Shannon and Eddie really are, or had been at some point in their lives, because they feel that same amount of responsibility weighing them down. But how they dealt with that was what really made them so different. That's where the differences like kind of diverged. You know, like that shot that I was telling you about, it's like he was getting pulled under by grief. And Shannon says that she wants Chris's life to be happy and full of joy. She specifically said full of joy, which I know is a typical thing to say. She's not sure if that's possible with her in it. And that can really be read into pertaining to Eddie as well. Eddie's life needs to be happy and full of joy, but it wasn't possible with Shannon in it. So he has to adapt to that world without her. But she also, going back to the idea of hope, she hopes that they can move on without her. And I think hopefully, like, we're seeing that in our current season, that maybe that hope can be rekindled a little bit, that, you know, that Eddie and Christopher can find joy with each other, and Eddie can find joy figuring out what he actually wants in life. So
who he is and what he wants.
Exactly. So I just really thought it was a poignant letter because it speaks so much to Shannon and Eddie. Like, you can really see their similarities and why they were together, and how Eddie like can take that, what she wrote, and kind of like hold it a little bit for himself as well, even though it wasn't like intended to be so.
I don't know if he does.
I would hope so, but I mean, I think
I don't think he does.
Or-
Where was my letter?
Yeah.
Just to add, I know I talked about Ryan's acting in that scene, but I mean, when you tie the just be silent, and then you're tying, because you know he's saying that as she's trying to say her last words, and we touched upon like his anger in that possible anger in that moment. It's kind of like he couldn't process in the moment when she was dying and trying to speak. But then he's, you know, at this beach where, you know, beach is like tranquility and trying to like, I don't know, like it's kind of therapeutic trying to I would go there to kind of reflect, I would say.
Yeah, like,
so like he's
quiet reflection.
Yeah, quiet reflection. And I think that's the moment when he can actually, like, she's not there to say the things or to give him any closure. That letter is the closest thing to closure that he's ever going to get. And that is why the whole, like, where was my letter? So that will stick to him for a long time as he's trying to process the loss of his life.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
like literally.
Yeah.
And I think the last thing I want to say on this is, like, during this montage with the letter overlaid over it, we see, you know, we go from that hug between Eddie and Bobby to Bobby going home to Athena and them just like embracing. And so that parallel between Bobby and Eddie being people who have lost their families or lost their wives, but Bobby has a new anchor in Athena, and he had lost that hope, but he's gained it again with her. Meanwhile, we see Eddie going home to Chris and Abuela, and Eddie has to break the news to Chris, and we don't hear it, but we see kind of like how he just breaks down, and it's Chris who leans up to hug Eddie. Chris is always Eddie's support system. So and I think that maybe can be paralleled a little bit with 413 with Buck and Chris. But yeah, so just the fact that like Eddie is telling Chris, you know, what happened and breaking the news to him and just kind of like crumbling, but it's Chris who leans up to him and kind of like supports him and hugs him. And that's how their relationship goes.
Okay, let's get into the most random assortment of things for slow burn you've ever heard. Starting with
this is slow burn because they had to keep the heat on for the chocolate.
Jesus Christ. It's warm.
It's warm and sweet.
Oh, Bobby. With his whole dining room table full of wedding planning materials is a sneak peek at what Buck is going to be doing. What he's going to look like whenever he's planning his and Eddie's wedding.
Bridezilla?
Like 100% like father, like son.
Yeah.
Like Bobby's the only one who has never been like, oh my God, don't give Buck a clipboard, because where do you think he learned that?
just very organized.
Yep. 100%. Then we have our friend Julie's favorite. Chim says, word of the day is hose maintenance. Which, bro, what? And Hen goes, okay, I'm out. Which, like, fair. She's like, I want nothing to do with hoses. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Goodbye. And then we
As
cut.
is her right.
And then we immediately cut to Buck and Eddie rolling a hose up together because they've never heard of efficiency. They are sold as a set. Do not separate them.
Mm-hmm.
They're working on the hose maintenance together.
Mm-hmm. Because it's a 2-person job. You know those TikToks of the actual firefighters, like
yes, yeah,
like everything is a 2-person job.
2-person job,
and all of the comments are always just like,
"This is Buck and Eddie."
Buck and Eddie. Yeah, it's so real.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just go before I forget what I was just talking about with Eddie breaking the news to Christopher and Chris being the one to kind of like almost console him. So that seems very similar to what we see in, is it Survivors, I guess, 414 after the shooting?
Yeah.
Where Buck is like, I have to break this to Christopher. I don't know if Eddie's going to be okay. Like, what do I even say to this kid who's already at this point lost his mom? And he's just the one like crumbling and collapsing because it's also Eddie, and that's his partner, that's his best friend. Chris is the one to kind of like be that shoulder for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it really shows like that like family dynamic that they have, and Chris is just like the cornerstone of that relationship for both of them so much. And then I also have with the vat of molten chocolate, where Eddie always feels like he's drowning, being pulled down by chocolate, and it's warm and it's sweet. Who were the ones to keep the teacher guy who fell in afloat? And that's Buck and Eddie. So logically, if one of them, especially because Buck was almost about to fall in, but Eddie like kept him stable on the ladder. But like if Eddie feels like he's metaphorically, being pulled down and drowning, well, who's going to keep him afloat? It's Buck.
Mm-hmm. And vice versa, because they have each other's backs or shoulders.
Yeah. Which is how he like keeps Buck from falling in, right? It's like the classic buddy shoulder touch. But like
it's the same hand and shoulder.
Yeah.
That's
every time.
Why didn't we talk about we did talk about that. It's the fucking Dean and Cash shit all over again.
We talked about that in our live stream. We should do like an actual segment on that somewhere. Mini-sode.
Oh yeah. Yeah. 100%.
A single man tear looking at Shannon's body. And if you guys didn't know that tune, that was from the fan fiction episode of Supernatural.
We have a musical.
Yes, the musical episode.
Not a musical episode, an actual musical inside an episode.
Crazy.
I think it's the only thing that 911 doesn't have.
Which TikTok guys, I don't know. Now I feel like I need it because if all of the other shows that I watch have a musical episode,
it's true.
I kind of need that now, even if I don't want it, but I might want it.
Well, just tell yourselves it can't be worse than Grey's Anatomy.
Then they'll see it as a challenge.
Yeah, but like when this show does it bad, they do it on purpose, and then it ends up being like good bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it would be enjoyable.
Yeah, sorry. Continue.
Anyway, a single man tear looking at Shannon's body, which parallels to his single man tear looking at Buck in a coma in season 6.
This is also what we were talking about with the whole like not wanting to intubate Shannon, and then Eddie not really being able to make full contact, while Buck is in the hospital bed on a respirator.
Yeah, he's intubated. He does not want to look at it because he doesn't want to think about how, like Chimney said, the chances of like once they're in an intubator coming off are not great.
He's already experienced the chances of that. It already didn't work the one time. That was not their miracle.
No.
But maybe Buck was the miracle.
What's interesting about that scene, you also have Christopher that's just like talking to Buck. And it's kind of like, it speaks to, I guess, the hope that Christopher brings, or like, we were just talking about how like he's kind of like Eddie's shoulder to cry on and Buck's shoulder to cry on when I guess when the opposite parent is in, I guess, I don't want to say the word in peril, but when they're like, I guess not
at their best.
At their best.
There's a lot that can be drawn between the Shannon dying scenes and Buck's coma.
If you want to compare reactions, again, I know I play this comparison game. I'm not doing it to try and be mean.
We're just drawing the parallel.
I'm literally just like Control A, Control B. Like, what's the difference between them? But, the way that he reacts when he sees Buck up there hanging and he fucking is screaming and running up there without a harness, and then out of his mind tries to pull him up. And like when he sees Shannon, they do have to hold him back a little bit. But like, then he calmly is like, Shannon, like he's soft. He's not yelling. He's not.
With Buck, he springs into action immediately.
Yeah.
With Shannon, he's kind of like, huh? And doesn't know what action to take.
Shannon is motionless on the ground, and then Buck is also motionless, hanging from the ladder.
Suspended.
So it's kind of like, there is supposed to be some sense of urgency because he's hanging he's suspended from the ladder, but like they are both motionless. So like the instant which Shannon should have been like, the reactions are vastly different. Like, again, there's supposed to be a sense of, like I said, there should be a sense of urgency because that person, Buck is hanging from the ladder truck, and then Shannon being on the ground, he should have tried to, like, I guess, push his way to her. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. I think it's a little bit different because like the paramedics were already actively assessing Shannon. So on one hand, I don't really think there was a lot that he could have done. But with Buck, there was nobody helping him yet. So Eddie was that that immediate assistance, because everyone else was just kind of like, what just happened? But he did spring into action. So it's kind of like an opposite in that way.
Well, okay, but my point is how everyone else was reacting to looking at Buck, because everyone else who hadn't gotten struck by lightning, Eddie did.
Yeah.
Sure, sorry.
Yeah.
Everyone else was standing there staring, which is kind of like the initial like, what the fuck is happening? What do I do? Response.
That's
when
what
it's
I was saying.
Your friend. When it's your friend, when it's your partner, soulmate, and you flip the fuck out and you just do whatever needs to be done, even if it's digging in the ground with your bare hands. You know what I mean? There's like irrational things. So like, yes, he was helping him, but he was doing it in an irrational way.
Yes.
He went up there without getting harnessed in. He tried to pull him up instead of leveraging him down. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, and think about when we talked about comparing reactions in Chimney Begins, how Chimney is like frozen.
Yeah. Okay. So to that extent as well, it's like, so Eddie has that more irrational spring into action mode for Buck later on. With Eddie and Shannon, he does kind of try to rush over to her and Chimney stops him, but it's not an irrational thing because Eddie is still in like medic mode, because he's like, how bad? Spinal? Like, he's asking this kind of like procedure of questions to figure out what, like he's almost treating her like a patient and not as his wife.
Yes. Yes.
So it's because he is not level of detachment.
They're treating him with spouse gloves, but he doesn't
need them.
He's not acting like one.
Because he's not acting like a spouse.
Or feel like one, technically.
Or feel like a spouse. Yeah. So that was my point with that parallel. I guess since we're talking about parallels, we're talking about romantic versus platonic, let's talk about Hen and Chim's conversation. See how they were feeling a little insecure or worried about where they were standing in their friendship with each other.
And then they
had a conversation where they talked about it. And then it was great because it just continued to strengthen their friendship, and they knew where they stood. And when they said, we're best friends and that's never going to change, that was actually true.
Imagine just best friends being best friends.
Imagine if like either one of them had instigated so many times, but think about when Eddie leaves the 118 and they're both acting fucking weird as hell. And like they could have just had a conversation if they were regular friends about what this means. Just because I'm not at the 118 doesn't mean that we're not still best friends. Yeah. Nothing's going to change.
Then everything changes. Everything has changed. Like, let's be real. They were still in the same city. They were still in the same house/apartment. They could have made the time to see each other outside of work, right? Which I feel like is what Hen and Chimney would have done.
Yes.
Because they would have made the effort to continue with their friendship that way. But like Buck and Eddie are so just like, if we're not together, I can't see you at all. Like
instead we get Buck chasing Ravi with a chainsaw. We get Eddie showing up and looking forlornly at Buck having, God forbid, laughing and having fun with people who aren't him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he sulks and leaves.
Oh my God.
Like, I'm just saying, if they were actually just regular friends, I know that they're both dudes, but they're pretty emotionally mature and intelligent, especially like in talking about other things with each other.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to talking about how they feel about each other, they don't talk about that.
And that is like the only time where their like silent communication fails them.
So, yeah.
And like, I understand why, because they're so used to just like knowing what the other is thinking, except when it comes to big feelings. Because then they're like, no, it's too big. I can't burden the other one with my big feelings. Ugh, they just kind of get in their own way about stuff like that. And it's like, that is not platonic. Those are feelings bigger than just best friendship.
You shouldn't feel like bereft, like you have lost
and reeling.
a spouse. Yes, you shouldn't feel, you know what I mean? Like, if you have slightly less, say you're best friends and you work together. Your best friend gets another job, but you still live in the same, like Rachel said, you still live in the same city. You're still very close with their kid. Why are you guys acting like you're going through a divorce?
They really are. And I think,
just a quick question.
And I think it's also because Eddie doesn't know how to do, again, it's that he doesn't know how to like not compartmentalize where porque no los dos. Like he doesn't know that he can do that. So he thinks he has to have like a hard cutoff with everything of his previous life, because then he misses it too much, and he thinks that like he might be tempted to go back to it. But also like he doesn't realize that he can have both, because that is the thing that makes him happy. And if he's doing this for Christopher, he can't be happy because he can't do what he wants. Like Christopher has expressed a want to Eddie of, you know, being worried that Eddie will get harmed on the job. So Eddie, who's like one of the only things that he's chosen for himself is his vocation, is his career as a firefighter, is like, I can't have that anymore. So I can't have anything related to that because that will bring me joy. And what is related to that is Buck. So he's like, I have to completely like cut out a part of myself in order to survive for what my son wants. And I can't have any joy beyond like that isn't, you know, fulfilling what my son wants.
Let's bring in like a later Hen and Chim thing. When Chim goes after Maddie, she offers to go with him. And I don't know, that would have been a normal platonic thing to do when Eddie said, I can help you move. Like, I don't know. That could have been a thing. And also,
wow,
the fact that like they stay in contact and like, yeah, they miss each other, but again, they aren't acting like their lives are ruined because they aren't.
They're not like looking out a window, like,
no,
like as like a widow.
Yeah.
Just lost,
no.
like waiting for their husband to come home.
Their lives don't revolve around each other.
Yeah. No, but seriously?
Because if you're platonic friends, your entire world does not revolve around each other.
No, this really is what that is, because like anytime like Eddie or Buck like are somewhere else, the other one is like that wife on that widow's walk waiting for her husband to come home,
for
like
more.
looking for through the lighthouse, just like waiting for that ship to come into harbor again. Just like
yeah,
that's not platonic. That's the very opposite. We can talk about in Buck actually it was Thomas and Mitchell, assuming that Buck is consoling Thomas in the back of an ambulance about, you know, losing his husband. And then when Thomas goes to say goodbye to Mitchell, which is also kind of very similar too, with like Chimney telling Eddie, like, you know, go say goodbye to your wife. right? So meanwhile, Thomas is saying goodbye to Mitchell, and we're still on Buck for a minute. And then we realize that Thomas has then passed away as well. And Buck discovers them, and he's like inconsolable. And I remember, because we talked about this, he calls like Eddie over and then Bobby, but Eddie is the one to like comfort Buck as well. It's kind of flipped with Shannon, because Buck again is the first one to see that it is Shannon that has been hit. But the way he looks over to Eddie, he's trying to protect Eddie. So he's trying to prevent that. So it's that parallel and that flip of having each other's back again, of like trying to console, protect before Eddie even like has to see that. So I don't know. I think that was like a nice narrative parallel with that. Oh yeah. So like the this doesn't change anything. We hear that with Hen and Chimney, but later we will also hear that in season 7 with an Eddie. And it's just one of those things when Eddie has decided something tis what it is. But it also kind of like changes everything.
This is never true when Eddie says it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I was trying to get at.
Okay.
He is a lying liar who lies.
Yes.
Yeah. This doesn't change anything. He's trying to gaslight himself.
Yeah.
This doesn't change anything.
Well, I mean, the only thing I'm going to say about that is like when he says that about him and Buck, I mean, well, I guess it's yet to be seen if things have changed or if things are going to change between them. So, because I was going to say, as far as their relationship goes right now, currently, I would say their dynamic hasn't changed, maybe a little bit now in season 8. But like, you know, when Buck comes out in season 7, like they were still good. However, for Eddie, you know, he starts spiraling. And then in this case with like the whole Shannon of it all, I mean, there's the event that happens. There's the whole fact that she wants a divorce. So yeah, you're right. So it's like a two-way. It could be taken two ways. So you're right. Their relationship could.
Things have definitely changed, and I'm gonna like give him a pass for part of it because like Christopher is a huge factor.
Yeah.
He goes over right after Tommy breaks up with him, and then they don't talk about it. They just sit there and they don't talk.
Yeah, for Buck and Eddie, who really do have these like deep conversations like every half season, you know, like, and the lack thereof in season 8 is, well, that's kind of different. That's not the usual dynamic between the two of them.
True.
The only time we don't see Eddie weighing in on a relationship of Buck's at all really is Allie, because everyone just forgot she existed most of the time.
No one knows her. Invisible girlfriend.
Yeah.
Take 2.
Yeah, she's more of the invisible girlfriend than Abby.
Yeah, and then, you know, then we see how he feels about Abby this upcoming season.
Abby.
And
his fiance's Abby. I can't believe that he could have had the opportunity to say that twice.
Oh my God. His fiance was Abby?
Again.
Oh my God, that would
Oh
be
my
hilarious.
God. Missed out.
Does Eddie even know?
Right?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think he does because they aren't talking.
They haven't talked about
They aren't talking about serious things, and they haven't talked about serious things at all since Buck came out to him. The only thing serious that they have talked about, serious conversation they had, was about
Eddie moving.
Was about Eddie's crazy shit.
Yeah.
When he was like, hey, maybe don't do this crazy shit. Maybe don't lead this woman on. Okay, great talk. So that was a serious talk.
It was like a halfway of that kind of conversation, you know?
And then again, when Eddie asked him to come over, and so Eddie tells him very poorly, like what happened, like in the most insane, unhinged possible way, without being clear at all.
Eddie does not give good context for any of this stuff either.
No, which is why I like my headcanon, and I'll die on this hill until they say otherwise. I think Buck thinks that Eddie slept with Kim, because that is what Eddie basically said. Anyway, that was the last serious talk they had.
Yeah. So this doesn't change anything. changes everything.
Doesn't change anything. And then in the next episode, what the fuck is he doing at the bachelor party? How he's treating Tommy, how he's treating Buck. He's like, oh, it's about you. Oh, the wedding's about you. Oh, I didn't know you could bring a date to the wedding. Like, sure, he like has ribbed Buck about this before. Like, not about this, but like, oh, you're going to make it about you. But like, that was very obviously a joke. Yeah. This one, Buck looks like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And like,
what did you just say to me?
Okay, to your point, I mean, there's also the way he treats him at the hospital during when he like I think dislocates his shoulder.
Yeah.
And masks. Yeah.
Yeah, how he can't look at him, but he keeps kind of looking at him.
So like Eddie says to Buck that this doesn't change anything between us, but it sure changes things between Eddie and Tommy.
For sure.
Because that friendship doesn't exist anymore after that.
No.
So
no, the friendship they have is that Eddie's there as a chaperone for most of their dates, most of their time together, it seems. Just to say that, like, this doesn't change anything. Doesn't actually mean anything coming out of Eddie's mouth, like, to me.
Yeah.
Because of the 2 times he said it, that I'm like...
Yeah, because it
does it though?
It doesn't hold it. It doesn't hold any weight.
No. Well, the whole reason that he was even doing what he was doing with Shannon was because he thought she was pregnant. And then to be like, this doesn't change anything. I'm like, but it does. It does.
The thing is, though, with Shannon, he says this doesn't change anything for me. Where it's also like he has made that decision like kind of unilaterally. It's like, this is what we're going to do.
You know what I'd be really interested to know? This is such a stupid thing. I'd be really interested to know if he ever refers to Shannon and him as us.
Ooh.
Like they're partners, like they're a team, like they're a thing. Because he says to Buck, this doesn't change a thing between us.
Yeah.
Like, we're still going to be Buck and Eddie. We're still going to be us.
As opposed to with Shannon, like, this doesn't change anything for me. Ooh. Okay, we'll have to pay attention to that going forward, especially after this episode. So he's like, coloring everything with, wearing the rose-colored glasses about their relationship. And maybe he says that.
I don't think he ever said it to her, though, is what I'm saying.
Oh, no, because I was like, maybe he's kind of said, him and Shannon as a unit, as a parental unit when talking to Chris, but I don't think really like as a true partnership, like adult relationship.
Yeah, but it's different when you say us in like a romantic relationship sense versus like us when you're talking to other people, talking about you and someone else. That's us.
Yeah, I'm not sure he has because he keeps everything in their own little separate boxes. It's always like Shannon and Christopher and like and then Eddie. So it's like Shannon and Christopher in a little box, but then Eddie is separate. So they're never like a combined unit.
Okay, so then I do want to look at a couple things that we did talk about, but from a queer coding lens.
Go for it. That's what we're here for.
I need to know what you want. I want this. Days on the beach with my son and his mother. Is that what I am to you? Because if it is, I need to know. I don't know. Again, this is just something. Do you want a relationship with someone or not? This is not hard. Like, I get that it's a little complicated because, like, yes, you have history, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, are you attracted to this person romantically? Do you want a relationship with them? Do you want to try? Because then you can have a conversation about if you can make it work.
And it's never with my son and the woman who I love, even though he does express that love to her, but it's like he can love her, but is he in love with her? Yeah. And that's really the question, because I think it is very clear that Eddie does love Shannon. He has a lot of love for her as a person, as, his childhood best friend, as Christopher's mother. But I don't think he's in love with her, and he doesn't realize there's a difference.
He wouldn't know because I don't think he's ever been in a romantic love.
No, I don't think so. And I don't think he knows that there is a difference is the thing too. So like, how would he know? So he literally doesn't know. on that front either. Just like, is there more that his heart can find in anyone, or is this it?
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's never a question of like, well, maybe they never even kind of discuss with each other if they'd seen other people while they were separated. That's never come up at all.
No.
They don't talk about anything that you should talk about.
No.
And like, I get why things, like, I can write off a lot of stuff of them being younger, that it's like, you're grown ass adults now. Like, there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to like have at least some basic communication about a relationship.
Especially with how quickly they kind of like fell into bed with each other. It's like, well, what if Shannon had been seeing someone, because she was gone for however many years, and like she had a whole other life that we never actually even got to see that side either, which is also kind of interesting. I would like to explore that somewhere, somehow. So we never see that. I think it's fairly safe to say that on Eddie's side, there was nobody.
Yeah.
Or at least nobody like longer than, I don't know.
Listen, if I asked someone if they wanted to be with me, whether we had dated before, whether we were like maybe working up to something, if I flat out was like, I need to know like what this is, need to know what you want from me, and they go,
I don't know.
Hold on, wait, no, I have to read the exact quote.
Okay.
These last few months have been good, really good. I don't know. Guess I'm just waiting for a sign, something to know which way to step. Boy, bye.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Like, Shannon, have a little more like respect for yourself.
Good girl.
Like, I get
He's
it.
pretty.
We have eyes, we see, but good Lord.
Like,
that cannot meet your emotional needs.
Like, as soon as he said, "Oh, I want this. I want it. I want, this, being at the beach with my son and his mother," and like him not being able to answer the question of, "Is that, is that all I am to you?" Like, a girl.
But I think this, and then her not being pregnant, is why she's like, okay, we need
we're
a
done.
divorce.
Yeah.
Because not only does she need to figure herself out, she's like, he obviously needs to figure himself out, but she's obviously not going to say that to him.
Yeah.
In Haunted, didn't she think like with them, getting back together, that meant that they were getting back together?
Yes, that was a reconciliation.
Yeah, so
what she says.
So she was under that way of thinking, and now we see that her perspective as kind of,
he was never there.
Yeah, he was never there with her, but now in this episode we see like her perspective has kind of changed, and that was, I think, that scare, and then realizing that she wasn't pregnant, because she said that she was like so afraid of like what that meant. So that was the push to get her to realize like, okay, I want something different. Like, we're not gonna do this again.
Yeah, I think it's just his utter, like, it cannot be clearer. Like, listen, we can write off, because I think it's largely headcanoned in fandom that he's Demi.
I think we all prescribe to that, or subscribe to that.
Right? So you can write off Anna and Marisol because like there's not like a deep connection there, right? How are you writing off this? How are we writing off his just complete disinterest in anything resembling an actual relationship or commitment? The fact that he doesn't want to commit until he knows or thinks that there's another baby on the way, there's your sign. Like when he's having that conversation with Bobby in season 8?
No, it's 7.
7 about Marisol.
Yeah, that you.
Oh yeah, 7.
Commit to something.
Season 7 about Marisol, and he's like, you don't seem to have trouble committing to some things, and it's like, okay, but like Bobby doesn't actually know. I mean, he does know a little bit, like how he was hemming and hawing, but like I don't think he knows the depths to which he was doing that. So he's just rewritten history, Eddie has in his head, of what this relationship was and how important it was to him. Because here's the literal proof in front of our faces, ladies and gentlemen. Show me where it is that he was really wanting to throw himself into committing to her as a husband.
No.
Literally, the literal quote is him going, I guess the question is, can I be a good husband? Not do I want to be a husband?
It's never
can
do I
be
want
a
to be.
good husband? And Bobby goes, are you ready to ask that question?
No.
No.
The answer is no to both of those. And I think that is the only misstep that Bobby gives. It should be amended to be like, and also, are you ready to ask yourself if you want to be? Because again, that's Eddie never asks himself, or Eddie never says like whether he wants to be in the marriage, if he wants to be Shannon, like specifically Shannon's husband. I think he liked being married, or the idea of being married and what the idea of that means for him. But again, that expectation versus reality thing don't really match up. And it's because he doesn't want to be in that relationship with Shannon, or in a relationship kind of with anybody.
Yeah, because every time we see him get into a relationship, it's because he thinks he needs to.
And it's never taking what he wants into consideration. He's like with Anna, oh yes, Chris loves her. She's great with kids. She's perfect on paper, which like she is.
Seems like it was time to like get back out there because Bobby said so.
And then with Marisol, it was like at the behest of Peppa was setting him up on dates. He's like, I guess I have to get back out there because that's what's expected of me.
Find my own person because I don't want to be set up with someone.
Yeah, so I'm gonna take the reins on that, but not because I want to.
Go try and pick up some women at the golf course,
and then at the Home Depot or whatever it is. And it's just like, again, it's never because he wants to. It's because he thinks that's what's expected of him.
Another role.
What?
I said it's like another role that he needs if he feels that he needs to fulfill, you know.
And even with Marisol, when we see like he really doesn't have game because he can't even text her without help from Chris. And that's also so how he knows that Chris is on board, right? Because Chris gets excited for him. So he's like, I guess this must be the right thing to do, even though like I'm dreading sending this text message because I don't actually want to. So, and I guess we should move in together because that's what's expected of us. But I don't really want to. Every I know this is getting into Eddie as like larger picture sort of thing, but like Eddie, any relationship milestone that he has with anybody is always met with like this facial expression of just kind of like dread, because he doesn't actually want any of that. But
not with a woman.
But he already has all of that without even trying. And Buck. The end.
The end. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. If you guys notice more things in this episode with the queer coding or, well, anything else that we missed, please let us know. Leave us a comment. You can do that on the Spotify episode. You can do it on YouTube.
Please leave us extra comments. We love.
Don't know if you can do it on Apple. I'm not really sure.
Leave us comments anywhere. Give us more things to dissect and talk about. Maybe we'll do like an extra little special. Maybe we'll go live on our socials and talk about them sometimes. And you can follow us at Buddy System Pod, literally wherever, anywhere,
everywhere.
Oh yeah, like leave us a comment. And we can address those during the live.
Yeah.
If you want to hear us go more into detail in something that we didn't touch on enough for you, I'm happy to do that. Or if you just have something that you want to hear us yap about,
let us know in our YouTube comments, in our Spotify comments, and we'll see them. We'll write them down if we need to go into more detail, because we love to talk.
We like to yap.
We sure do. Sure do. Yeah, can't wait to discuss next week's episode.
I can't believe we're almost at the end of
it. Oh my god.
I'm so excited for season 3.
Me too. We're gonna have guests.
We're almost there, guys.
We're gonna have guests.
It's gonna be big.
It's gonna be
a title.
It's gonna be biblical.
Where was that in season 7? Never mind.
Biblical.
I mean, it was the fire, but
Marisol was almost a nun.
Yeah. Well, that was it.
That's the closest we have. Eddie's inability to get it up because of his Catholic
Guilt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the kids are calling homosexuality these days.
I'm pretty sure that's what they've always called it.
That's true. All right.
Okay.
Well, thanks for tuning in. We had a great time. And remember, don't fall into chocolate quicksand.
But if you do,
take a buddy with you.
Thank you for listening to the Buddy System podcast from start to finish.
We literally cannot shut up about 911, so please come talk to us on your favorite social media platform.
We're at Buddy System Pod everywhere. That's BUDDIE System Pod. Leave a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts to get a personal shout out in the next episode. The Buddy System is a Nerdvergent media production featuring music from Divinity.
Can't get enough of the buddies? Subscribe to our Patreon for access to exclusive content in our Discord community.
Catch you next time, and don't forget,
Bring a buddy with you.